And here we go. We are live. Welcome to FSP episode number, let's see what she put on here, 55. Thanks everybody for tuning in to the show. See awesome people in the chat already, like usual here. Amazing. Tony Grasso, shout out to him, says we need a theme song for Tidbits. Where the musicians at? It needs to be catchy and somewhere between 10 to 12 minutes long. Minutes? 10 to 12 minute theme song? That's like it's longer than Bohemian Rhapsody, man.
It's longer than what Freebird. Freebird's an 8-minute guitar solo.
Stairway to Heaven. How long is that? It's
tidbits.
Yeah. Tidbits. Everybody get your tidbits. Yeah. What? Tidbits. All the games coming this week. Tidbits. Tidbits. Yeah.
Tidbits. You need the choir and everything.
Yeah, we'll have a tidbit segment later in the show. Not a whole lot of games coming out this week. Shout out also to Alvin. How's it going, Alvin? What's up, Talos Re? What's up, RSJ fan? Nighturnal, how are you doing as well? The Blue clan member on Diablo. What's up to the Blue as well? How's everybody doing tonight? It's a slow news Monday again. This is the second week in a woe. Second week in a woe that we don't have a lot of news on a Monday. I think we're all a little bit spoiled because it's been a crazy couple of years with gaming news, but a little slow today with gaming news. So we're going to have some conversations about some of the stuff that has happened today and the stuff that we did over the weekend. Also, we have a little bit of a fun pop part of the show that's worthy of talking about because we used to have a show on this channel called Fun Pop, and we talk about all the Marvel stuff and DC stuff. There's a little bit of news regarding that, so maybe worth covering for a minute on a slow gaming news week. But yeah, let's get to the amazing panels as usual. Hey, Fuzz, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good, and glad to be here with you guys for slow news week. I'm back to my usual gaming of GT7, but I also fired up for the Motorsport 7. They were at Sebring, or IMSA was at Sebring this weekend. So since that track doesn't exist in GT7, I had to get my fix on Motorsport, and still can't wait for this game. The next Motorsport can't come soon enough.
When do you think it launches?
I'm thinking October. I hope sooner, but with some of the things I would like to see, I'm willing to be patient to give them time to kind of get more things lined up for the launch. But yeah, I'm still hopeful it's this year, but October is the kind of the window I envision right now.
Right on. I think it'd be a good time, right before big holiday season, and regardless, I agree, it's going to be amazing. Everything we've seen from Forza Motorsport looks like transcendent for the racing genre.
Yeah,
it's gonna be sick. 3-Bit, how are you, bro?
It's been a busy week, man. I just been surviving. Created a video game thing for Aflac, and I've been doing some commercial work.
When you started working on commercials, did you see yourself having to make video games for commercials?
I had no idea that was coming. They're like, "Hey, you did video game work," and Affleck. I was like, "Yeah," and Affleck was like, "Okay, we need a video game." I was like, "Dang it! I thought I escaped this." But yeah, I did a video game for Affleck. It's like an interactive game. Think about like when you hit like a golf ball at a screen and it like calculates. It's something like that. I won't get too much
and
into
then
detail.
It hits the glass and it becomes going to calculate your injury insurance like return.
Maybe. So I've been working on that and some commercials, and so kind of I wasn't too sick, but kind of recovering from almost a sickness. Basically, like, no, I don't want to be sick. No. And then yeah, this has been a work week, honestly. Just been working. Yep. I didn't get a chance to jump into the Diablo beta, sadly. But maybe next week I get a chance to jump in with you guys.
Well, me and Jasper will
overall decent.
Talk a lot about the Diablo beta while you and Fuzzy say like, "Oh, cool."
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are you, Jasper? What's up, man?
And I'm doing pretty good. And for a slow news week, I guess you just missed the entire week, or like you just don't give a shit about a lot of this stuff that's going on. Because I feel like it's really busy.
Today?
Not today, but like over the weekend, we had a bunch of stuff drop.
Like what? Like what?
Like-
What was like some of the biggest news?
We got story details on 007 game from IO. We got
I missed
a
that.
new Lego car racing game coming out.
Missed that.
The head Battlefield dude left and made his own studio.
I saw that.
Okay, and then Battlefield 2042 is going to get another year content, another year of full
Yeah.
support.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Zack Snyder's making the game. So I'm just like, I don't know.
We'll
Just a
have
bunch
you
of-
run the topics this week. Right on, man. Yeah, it's I don't know. I saw some of that. I've been busy too though. So
Oh, and Shroud showed off his new game by Splash Damage.
Shroud has a game.
Yeah.
I didn't know he had a game.
Cool. Is it going to be an
The
NFT
heck?
game like Dr. Disrespects?
No, it's a survival like shooter or something like that.
Okay, right on. Well, thanks always, guys, for being here. I appreciate. Like, one thing I want to say is like we have this like panel. It's been amazing, and we're 2.5 years almost into this channel, like 2 years, 3 months. Gotta say, I've seen a lot of podcasts and stuff where the panels mix up quite a bit, but I feel like we've had amazing like continuity on this channel because we're all kind of like a family, right? And I want to thank you guys for being here all the time when you can.
Of course, man.
3-Bit's even been here lately, which is amazing. But yeah,
I try.
it's cool to see on our shows like FSP and on Xbox Ultimate and PM to PM with Pong, like just like able to have the same awesome people week in week out, for the most part. Shout out to Psycho, he's sick today, so he's not making it, but I do love that about what we do because makes it fun, makes it better, I think.
It's been cool seeing it grow over time. Like first episode I was on was like Ultimate episode.
Yeah, I think you were our
like,
first panelist, 3-Bit.
Yeah. It's been quite some time.
Yeah.
And then
That's
over
fun.
time just seeing you grow, and then I remember Pong was in our comments, and then he would always be in the comment section of videos and stuff, and then
Yeah, when we thought he was a Korean guy.
yeah, I thought he was Korean. And then invited, I was like I was with PTK, and I was like, you should invite this guy Pong. He's always in your comment section or whatever. And now Pong's like on every show.
Yeah. If you guys want to know who to thank for Pong Soul's podcasting hornets, it's 3-Bit. Yeah. It's absolutely 3-Bit. 3-Bit got him in.
But it's been like really fun. Like this whole journey with everybody. Like I always it's like a nice getaway. We'll just talk about gaming, and this community is awesome. So
yeah, I was thinking about that earlier. Like I see all these channels, and like a lot of the panels change. You know what I mean? And we've had change, right? For sure. Like people that used to be on every day or whatever can't anymore, or people that aren't able to be here anymore. But for the most part, like same group people. It's been pretty awesome. So and a lot of familiar faces in the chat too from the beginning. Shout out to Black Card A, who I think may be one of the first people ever in our chats. Shout out to Nix, Harry Ballsack. What's up? What's up? How's it going? Jason Max with the usual comment. Just remember, Xbox is #1, he says. Vik The CLiCK hanging out. Appreciate you guys. Like I said, I told you we might have a little bit of a fun poppy segment here because we did get some interesting Marvel news today. And Jasper alluded to the Zack Snyder news, which isn't really crossover to this, but it might be a good segue. We on this channel, many of us love Marvel movies, as many of you know, especially people that have watched Fun Pop in the past. But I think most of us can kind of say that been taking a little bit of a downturn the last year. Not quite as amazing as they used to be. One of the big criticisms in the past has been the visual effects and the graphics and stuff like that has taken a downturn. They felt like sometimes maybe a little bit more rushed, or that they're trying to do too much and not living up to what they used to be like. Well, we got some news actually today, I think, and maybe a lot of the issues have been down to one person. Apparently, I don't know if you can just blame one person or not, but Victoria Alonso has been ousted. It seems like from Marvel, and she was primarily in charge of the visual effects and graphics, um, and stuff on the Marvel movies and shows and stuff. So I have this tweet from Discussing Film. It says Victoria Alonso is reportedly singularly responsible for the toxic work environment within Marvel's VFX departments. She would reportedly give work to teams she liked, but if you have pissed her off in any way, you're going to get frozen out. So, um, is this good news for the MCU? And I originally saw this because 3-Bit had quote tweeted it and said maybe I'll start working with Marvel again. So, just curious about your take on that, 3-Bit, because you have a little bit of a different perspective on this stuff because you have a lot of Marvel ties. Your dad used to work for Marvel, and which is amazing. You know a lot of people that worked on Marvel stuff. You've done Marvel stuff yourself, and you're in that industry, right? So, like, somebody that's in charge of a whole department like that, and it's something being kind of shoved aside, saying, "Hey, we're going to go in a different direction." Can that make a big impact for what we see with the MCU going forward?
I think so. There's a lot of VFX artists that I know that um like refuse to work on different Marvel stuff. Like I was offered a Marvel position. I was offered to work on She-Hulk a while ago, and I was
Dodge
like,
that bullet,
nah.
huh?
And I was like, no, I'm okay. Just because of I just heard all the stories, right, of everything that's happening.
Also, that was one of the
And
worst like CG fucking things they ever put out.
it was okay. I feel like some people were trashing on it. It wasn't super bad. I think she's just a little hard to do CG of, but a lot of people did. Basically, in general, a lot of VFX artists didn't want to work with Marvel because of the crazy deadlines and how they pretty much hinge on the Marvel name. Like this is you're working on a Marvel production, so try to get this done. Like things that are supposed to take like 3 weeks, let's get it done in 1 week. And yeah, they did a lot of that. Try basically pumping out movies and stuff like that. So I didn't want to work for them if even when I had the opportunity. I was like, I heard stories. I don't want to put myself through that stress. And a lot of people have very similar stories as well. So I feel like her leaving could be a good catalyst to maybe some of those VFX artists maybe accepting some of the roles again. Like, oh, she's gone. Maybe you'll be better. Maybe we could turn some of this stuff around. But we'll see. In terms of like internal, that's something that they can do for some of these artists, give them a little bit more time, a little bit more breathing room, to kind of go back to the phase with up to Endgame, right? Where we know Marvel for these really good quality movies. And even like in my opinion, maybe I'm just a Marvel fanboy. If they make like 10 bad movies, it's still gonna be better than what DC has so far, at least
Yeah.
like with their
Continuity,
slate.
right?
Continuity, yeah. So like they set a precedent for superhero movies. Now they just need to just go back to how they've been doing it. I'm still a fan of the Marvel universe. I still think they have a lot of potential. They just need to kind of reset for a little bit, just rethink some things and just take their time. Like to me, I'm not in a rush. Like just slow down a little bit. You got a good potential for this phase, and just go for it. So internally, you get some VFX artists who are a little bit happier if she's gone, and then externally, just think about the stories you want to put out, and you don't have to pump them out.
Yeah, they did say they're
So-
going to also, like Kevin Feige, I think, said they're going to take a step back from quantity and focus more on quality again, right? Which I think
Yeah.
is kind of what bit them in the ass, because it seems that as soon as all those shows started, like they all got in and over their heads and maybe just couldn't quite live up to the amount of stuff they were trying to do, right? But she also was responsible for a lot of good things as well, right? I mean, 17-year career, and seems like she was there from the beginning, influential on what we also loved from the MCU. So I haven't seen Ant-Man yet. 3-Bit has. I mean, have you seen it, 3-Bit? Sorry, I meant Jasper.
No.
Yeah, Jasper.
I've
Seen
has.
what? Yeah, I've seen
Ant-Man.
Ant-Man.
Yeah, so Jasper was saying that the VFX and that were pretty good. Except
mean,
for one
like,
scene.
Yeah, there was like one scene where you could see like they were clearly like slightly floating above like the ground, like because of the green screen, like it just the angle of it or whatever.
Right.
But like for the entire like literally 90% of the movie was just all green screen and visual effects. So for like the entire movie, like being that, it was pretty decent.
Yeah.
Like
Okay, right on. And well, I think Guardians of the Galaxy will be her last one that she's like in charge of. She's in the so apparently she'll be in the credits on that, but we'll see.
I
what
mean,
happens.
the movies get a lot more time and budget for VFX than
Yeah.
like say the TV shows. That's like so it's like I don't really mind the movies that much because the TV shows is like you kind of see those more regularly because there's more of them and they come out more often. So like that's where you're gonna notice the shitty like VFX a lot more. I feel
Yeah.
like.
Well, I guess we just can't keep Psycho down. Every time that last 2 weeks in a row, he says he doesn't feel good, he's not gonna be able to make it, and then all of a sudden he pops up because he's listening into the show and probably has something to say. What's up, Psycho?
Hey,
Hey,
Zach.
how's it going?
How you
Hey,
doing, man?
I just want to say sorry to Talos Re first off.
You tied them out by accident.
Yeah,
Sorry, Talos.
yeah, accidentally hit. I didn't even realize that.
I was wondering why it said his messages were deleted.
I'm like, wow. I'm like, Talos is usually a pretty good person. What did he do?
He was being toxic. No,
I just like went through all his chats and he was just saying hi to everyone. I was like, Jesus Christ, that
You're not allowed to do that,
Cannot
Carlos.
say
Don't
nah.
you know anything
Can't say
about this
hi.
channel? You can't say hi and be nice to people. You're only allowed to be a toxic fanboy in here.
Yes,
right?
That is correct.
Sorry, Talos.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I forgot that we're doing the fun pop thing. So I was like, you know what? I can't fucking miss out on fun pop segment of FSP. So here I am.
Yeah, you saw the news about the VFX, right? Artist or the head of the VFX department.
Yes.
Moving on. And it's kind of like the reports I saw that she's like pushed out, but like it says she like left. For me, it sounds like one of those like, hey, if you don't resign, you're gonna be fired type situations.
Probably like a Bonnie Ross type situation.
Well, apparently she's still with Microsoft, right? So
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, we don't know what her role is going to be in the future, but does this spell good things for you? You think for the movies?
Well,
forward,
good for the employees. They're not being rushed to get their work done quickly, and the toxic. Well, would you say toxic, or would it be more of a micromanaging?
So the guy that reported this, that broke the story, I was like kind of looking into it since 3-Bit just kind of like quote tweeted that one piece that was mentioning this dude. If you go to this dude's Twitter, he's like the guy that broke the story. He said that that she would like blacklist a lot of VFX pros just because like either they said something in the past or something like that, so she wouldn't allow them to even work on their projects. So I don't know if that's just like the toxicity he was talking about or what, but
you don't want to burn bridges in an industry like that. I would imagine, because there's only so much talent to go around, and also word spreads. Like 3-Bit, like he said, was offered a job and he was like, "Yeah, I'm good." So,
and apparently she would also have to approve. Her and Kevin Feige would also have to approve every shot. So I don't know, but
I don't mind Feige approving everything. That guy's like, I have faith in Kevin Feige, right?
And he's like earned it.
He said that usually the VFX shots are supposed to be approved by the director or the showrunner, not the actual lead tech at the VFX studio. Like,
but that's not how it usually ends up. because a lot of the VFX artists, since they're on such short deadlines, they become the director in a lot of ways. Because they have to do the storyboards, they have to do the shot list, and then turn it
I just
around
think he's saying like the final words to has to be like the director's like, yeah, that shot looks good enough to like my vision or whatever, like put it in there. I think that's kind of what he's saying. But
yeah, for sure.
Talos is back in the chat. Would you like to formally apologize again to Talos Re, Psycho?
Yes. I want to. Sorry, Talos. I accidentally timed you out, buddy. My fat ass fingers hit the button. I don't know how I fucking.
And there's no untime out feature in YouTube.
I know
so
there
weird.
needs to be, right?
Yeah, it was a total accident. So sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
Glad that you're back. And yeah, but I don't know. It with this whole fucking thing with this chick. If she's really like going and like disciplining people and because of they didn't
stand in the corner.
she
I didn't
didn't
like that shot.
well, if that she doesn't like something that you said, that's like a fucking what's the like a tyrant per se. So it's kind of good that she's
Victoria
gone.
the tyrant is gone.
Well, I mean, it you know that
based
brings,
on how they phrase it, it seemed that way.
Yeah,
it just seems it's not good for your studio trying to get talent, and then you have somebody like this. You're just like, oh, you said something bad about Marvel. Fuck you. It's like, dude, how old are we? Are we like?
Yet they
fucking
hire
5 years
writers and
old?
stuff that have like never heard of anything like Marvel.
Yeah, I mean, trust me. Like I saw like Ant-Man. Like Jasper liked Ant-Man. It was fucking weird. Like a lot of the how it started was like the beginning. I would say 30 minutes of the movie is not even needed at all. It's like this stupid fucking interaction between everybody.
Well, I mean, it's kind of how they get there, though. So you kind of.
Can I read the entire
not,
quote?
Sure.
Once you're done, Psycho.
What's that?
I was just gonna say I was gonna read the quote so people know what we're talking about.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
So it came from a reporter. His name is Chris Lee. He works for New York Magazine.
Not the Halo Chris
tweeted.
Lee. Yeah.
Another Chris.
This is Jim Lee's brother.
Yes. He got anyway. He says so many VFX sources have told me Victoria Alonso was singularly responsible for Marvel's toxic work environment, a kingmaker who rewarded unquestioning fealty with an avalanche of work, but who also maintained the blacklist that kept effects pros wild-eyed with fear. She held a crazy amount of power, bigfooting all major creative decisions on Marvel movies and TV shows. Kevin Feige and Victoria Alonso personally approved every single shot, all the visual effects work, which is usually the job of a director or a showrunner. The main one that everyone's quite scared of is Victoria Alonso. Another tech said, if she likes you, you're going to get work and you're going to move up in the industry. If you have pissed her off in any way, you're going to get frozen out. That's the quote.
But you were going to go work for She-Hulk, so she must like you. You could have moved on up.
I'm good. Now that you got, I'll think about it.
Yeah, she was going to have him work, come work for She-Hulk. Won't you come over for some dinner and we'll have some wine? Won't you spend the night? That's what we wanted to do there.
That's like sexual harassment claims now. That's another
well,
level.
That's Victoria. She's the tyrant. She thinks she's queen.
Yeah. Well, you got any thoughts on this, Fuzz? I know you aren't as big into the MCU as we are, but this is like you kind of got saddled with the Fun Pop crew here. You know what I mean?
No, that's fine. Like I think the biggest thing is whenever you have a change like that at the office, it's a good step forward just for the fact of morale, and any of those visual effects artists that were on that blacklist now will be able to hopefully get work with Marvel again. I never understood that type of mentality of blacklisting people because they didn't get me coffee, or I didn't like what they said about what was at the water cooler or something, just random stuff. And it's like it takes away from the job at hand, and it takes away from the overall morale at the office. So
Yeah.
good riddance.
Well, we'll see what happens in the future. I mean, I think that this next phase for Marvel has a lot to be excited for, right?
Yeah.
I think part of the issues that have happened with Marvel and the MCU was they drugged this thing out to be so massive on the phases that it's been like such a slow story progression to where we're getting to anything that really matters. And now we're really starting to get there. And plus they keep introducing so many new characters and stuff,
Well,
right? But
yeah, that's the thing with this story arc is that with the multiverse is that how they're going about it. They have to do all these individual stories. Like the last time you had what I think it was Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man, and I think one other, and then you had Avengers. So it was like it was quickly setting up and getting these teams and the story fleshed out quicker a little bit with um uh the Infinity Saga. With this time around, they have to, it's going to be a slow burn, and people are just not used to that with how last saga, how quickly things fleshed out. So that's the thing that with this, because with the Secret Wars, how this all ends up is that everything's individually they're trying to show, and then you're going to get all these different teams, and then in the end they all have to come together to
yeah.
defeat whoever
Probably
the main
Kang
bad guy.
or Galactus or something.
Well, I mean, it's Secret Wars, so Doom. So yeah, there's so much shit that
Yeah.
they could be doing with
Well,
this. So
I'm excited
we'll
to see what DC does in the future now too.
I just had an
yeah.
amazing thought that
that?
they could do with Doctor Doom, but I can't say it because it involves Ant-Man.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen it yet. I at this point, because I usually see these movies like right away, but I was busy and this and that, and now it's like so close to hitting Disney Plus that I'm just like I'll just watch it there because I have a media room in my house, so like I can watch it there and get a pretty good experience. So it's like I might just wait for that, but I am excited about what DC's gonna do with James Gunn. Like I know there's been a lot of like people that are I like the resetting of the whole thing, right? Personally, just because I want a fresh start and I want that continuity, right, to be there. And that's something that a lot of us had talked about we wanted from DC. But with that comes some negative things as well, because you can't just have all the same people and start a whole new universe, right? So that's led to like things where some of us aren't happy. But I think
I'm
that
not happy.
I know you're not. I think that we'll have to wait and see how that whole thing turns out with James Gunn and DC before we can make a lot of judgments on it, right? But other than that, like DC is starting to do a continuity thing that's even going to go into the games as well, right? And all of this stuff. But there was a person that used to be involved with DC was Zack Snyder, who I feel like a lot of us felt like that could have been the big DC universe. It didn't turn out that way, for one
They
reason
really
or
got
another.
one movie with Henry Cavill. Like that kind of sucked.
Yeah, but
Like, only one, but
now we're going into a new phase for DC. We're getting hopefully some good stuff again from Marvel. But Jasper, you were talking about a Zack Snyder game that's happening.
Yeah, so he went on some podcast over the weekend. I've never heard of him, but I guess they are close enough to where that he was invited onto that show. He came on and he announced that he's going to be making a new RPG game based off the IP Rebel Moon. I'm not too familiar with that IP, but from what I could tell, just like shortly Googling it, it's some kind of space like adventure, kind of maybe similar to like Guardians of the Galaxy or something like that. But he was saying like he can't talk much about it, but he's like, when I initially pitched this idea, I was like, I want it to be a big game, not I don't want it to be a small game. So he's like doing this with his hands, like if this is a small game, I want it to be like all the way out here. Like I want it to be a huge game that takes like, so he's like saying it's going to be a really big RPG. That's kind of all we got out of it, but
Well, for the Rebel Moon movie is set for this year.
2023.
Yeah, and it is directed by Zack Snyder, and it's got a hell of a cast. It has Jenna Malone, Charlie Hunnam,
Yeah, it's
Carrie Elves.
Yeah, they're saying that's like his version of Star Wars.
I'm down for that. The plot says a young woman seeks out warriors from other planets to fight the tyrannical armies terrorizing her peaceful colony. So a game based on this could be a huge space epic. I'm curious who would be making the game. Did they mention that at all, Jasper?
I don't think he said that.
Bethesda. That's what they've been working on.
You know what's interesting when I was looking at the IMDb page? Who was the actor that played Cyborg? Wasn't it Ray Fisher?
And that's
in Justice League.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I don't remember.
Yeah, he was okay. He played Cyborg in Justice League, who was Zack Snyder had cast that, right? And guess what? He's Ray Fisher is also listed to be in Rebel Moon. So that's a little cool thing, you know, because him and DC had a falling out, right?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of like who he would approach, because like I'm sure he had contacts with WB, but like I don't know if he wants to go back to WB to make that game or not.
Yeah, I'm not sure. This is also Anthony Hopkins is going to play a voice. Digimon Hansu is going to be in this thing. I mean, it's got a pretty damn big good cast here. So this is whatever it is going to be a big deal. Square Enix, maybe.
I know people's initial comment was like, you're going to make a game based off a movie. We don't know how successful it's going to be or if anyone's going to give a shit about it.
Yeah, I mean, they used to do that all the time.
They did.
Think about like all the movie video games we used to get back then, like Aragon and like
Aragon was a good game.
Terrible game.
But you're gonna tell me like Snyder's space epic? I mean, I'm an original new space epic movie like by Zack Snyder. I'm down day one on that movie, right? I mean, it's got to be probably going to be a surprise, right? And then also now they have faith enough in it to invest in making a game. Did they say when that game could possibly come out?
He wasn't even supposed to say that. He kind of like slipped up into that conversation. So like then he kind of like caught himself and was walking it back a little bit. So
if the game flops, they could always cancel the game. I mean, if the movie flops, right? Which would probably be the case. But cool, man. I mean, we're in this kind of age of licensed games now, right? That are becoming good, not like the licensed games we got back in the day. So I'm always down for this kind of stuff. You know, I think it's promising when we hear about new IP. I think here's something that's happened, right? We had this renaissance in like the 80s and like early 90s of like just creativity, right? Just new IPs, like all these cartoons and like all these different new characters with comics and all of this stuff. We had like the Ninja Turtles like show up in the 80s, late 80s. We had the X-Men cartoon showed up in the late 80s. We had Transformers, you know, like Thundercats, G.I. Joe, even though it was already a thing, became really popular with that cartoon in the 80s and stuff.
Did they have like He-Man or something?
He-Man, Voltron. I mean, you can just like go on and on and on and on and on with the stuff that became popular.
Yeah, you're right. We need to bring acid back.
Yes. I mean, really, you think about it, how much stuff do we still enjoy today that was original creations or like took a new life back in the 80s? Like things like the X-Men already existed and stuff like that, but they really caught on big time and they like got big then, right? To another level and all these different things. And I feel like have still been living in the place where we're like keep bringing those same IPs and characters back all the time because those are like
it's like guaranteed. I did a whole video on that, like nostalgia. Like that's just because like IPs like Ghostbusters, like guaranteed that someone who was a fan of Ghostbusters is gonna come back.
Back to the
And
Future was
then
another one
in
too, right?
addition to that,
Yeah.
you'll get the new audience, like the potential, like, oh, what is Ghostbusters? You know, and every generation they can just keep doing that. Like from the past generation who love Ghostbusters, you can get like new people. So it's like guaranteed that you're gonna get at least some people to watch it, and then you can bring in like new people, which is why Hollywood keeps like bringing back old franchises.
Yeah.
It's just interesting.
So when I hear about big creators going into a big, huge project like this, it gets me a little excited. Could this be something that really catches on, right?
Yeah, give me some new sci-fi stuff. I love that.
Yeah.
late in the 70s, Star Wars, you know, and then going into Indiana Jones as well in the early 80s and stuff like that. So it's like we're still just keep absorbing these same franchises and IPs over and over and over again, right? And there's some new ones that take on and take off, like Game of Thrones became a huge deal, right? This
Mhm.
past 15 years or so. Harry Potter became huge.
I mean, but a lot
Yeah.
of the like creativity from that came from the time period and what was going on with the eras and like the technology
Yeah.
advancements. So they're able to like see the future with that. Whereas like shit that we use today, like we cannot kind of all date back to that period. So it's kind of hard to be more creative with like where we think it's going to go. So like I think that's like creativity is kind of like slowed down a bit because we just use the same shit that we've been using for 70 years. It's just smaller.
Yeah, I think 80s and 90s were just like insane for that stuff, you know. But
Yeah.
it is. I mean, it is what it is. I don't mind it. Like I think we all still love when that shit gets announced. Like I keep begging for an X-Men game, you know, like give it to me, right? I want it, you know. But yeah, Psycho.
No, I was gonna say like uh we've been I know a lot of people have been asking for a Spawn game since what
You're
was
the
it?
only one I know. No, I'm joking.
I no, dude. There's a lot of people in this community that want Spawn, especially since Soul Calibur back. I think Soul Calibur 2, I think came out on consoles, and they had Xbox had Spawn, Nintendo had Link, and PlayStation
Xbox had Yoda.
Diaper Boy.
That was a Soul Calibur like 4 or 5, whatever. Where Xbox had Yoda.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Yeah, and then
like
Vader.
GameCube.
Yeah.
GameCube
Yeah,
had Link, and I think
Mhm.
PlayStation had Vader.
Spawn.
Yeah.
No, we're talking. Yeah, they did a Star Wars one, and then they did prior to the Star Wars, they did this they were supposed to be like main characters of that console. So why we got Spawn? It was like, hold on, we didn't have a Spawn game. So it's like, okay, they used Spawn for Xbox, and of course Link for Nintendo, and I forget the diaper guy, but he's Tekken. That's why Sony had him.
The diaper guy.
Yeah, he has a diaper, and he had spiky white hair. If you look up
Daihachi?
Tekken, you know if that's his name is.
Oh yeah, is it the Tekken?
Yeah, Tekken.
What's his face? The guy with the old guy with the
Yeah,
bald right here, and then
Yeah.
oh,
Yes.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
Daihachi.
okay.
Yeah.
I call him diaper guy.
Diaper. He said diaper guy.
Diaper guy.
Depends.
Yeah,
So-
that's the grandfather, I guess I'll say. The original OG villain from Tekken.
Yeah.
Daihachi.
But again, going back, Spawn is something that would be a fantastic game because there's so much you could do with Spawn. You can, he has his chains and he fights with an axe. And there's just so much you could do, and I would love to see a dark, gritty Spawn game. But
what they should do, Marvel, Spawn is Marvel, right?
no,
No.
Dark
Is he not?
Horse. It's either
Dark
Dark,
Horse?
yeah, Dark Horse.
I think
It's not Image. Image is it's not them. So I think it's Dark Horse. Because I was like
Isn't Dark Horse owned by
Embracer now.
yeah, Embracer.
Yeah.
Okay. Dang. So it's up to the Embracer, I guess.
Which one owns Ninja Turtles?
Was it like Universal? I don't know.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
There's a I mean, originally it's a comic book series.
Marvel made Ninja Turtle comics.
Let's see.
Nickelodeon owns Ninja Turtles.
It says
Well,
in the
DC
'97
had
film was
some-
based off Image Comics. I don't know if it moved
Yeah, I think
after that.
it might be Image. I know that DC.
No, I was talking about
also
the
had-
Spawn.
Oh, okay.
Wow, Nick got Ninja
Was
Turtles
it
for only
Image?
$60 million.
For what?
Nickelodeon back in 2009 bought Ninja Turtles for $60 million.
Yeah, but I'm curious about the
Oh,
comic
okay.
rights.
And
'cause,
then
like,
they sold the rights to Spawn to Marvel Comics. So
Okay.
Spawn is now a Marvel character.
That's interesting.
Hmm.
Let's get it Spawn in the MCU. Can we start a petition?
Yeah, I was gonna say before, like I thought Spawn was Marvel, but it would be cool that Marvel has like a dark, smaller story side where they focus on like Punisher more and Spawn, like some of their darker characters, like Man Thing and like those characters that are not super popular, but they have like darkness and stuff to them, like having their section in Disney Plus would be kind of cool.
It would be. They kind of already started the supernatural side of Marvel with Dark Knight or Black Knight and Blade. Spawn could easily fit right into that universe there. So like
but Blade is having some trouble right now.
Rewrites and shit like that with the script, I think. Yeah.
Because Punisher is also coming back with hopefully rated R.
I think there was a little bit like speaking of the Blade movie, I think there's a little bit overblown with some of that stuff because it was like I made a big deal. The cast hasn't even seen the script yet, but like Marvel's also notorious for keeping the cast from the script to prevent leaks for like up until right before the movies.
Okay, this fucking Spawn shit is all over the place. So there was two people that owned it. Todd McFarlane owned the like half of it.
I think he still owns the toy rights.
Todd McFarlane owned half of it, and then a company called Gaiman or something. Gaiman sold all their 50% share to Marvel Comics, and then Todd McFarlane still owns his 50%, I think. So it's probably not going to get anything out of it because it's all mixed up with different people.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, he still sells like his special edition toys because Todd McFarlane's style is very.
And he was also trying to make a TV show with it in 2021, I think. So.
Yeah, and Marvel Disney was like, oh no, we have to go to our special guy. We have to go to the Feige.
Yeah, interesting. Well, that's been our fun pop segment on on FSP. We haven't really talked about
we can go for another 3 more hours.
Yeah, like we could. I mean, there's so much to catch up on with all this stuff. We could have a 3-hour show just on the James Gunn stuff. You know what I mean?
That fucking piece of shit. Yeah, let's do that.
We really could.
Oh, I'm sorry. I like James Gunn.
It's okay. Regardless of how you feel about the person, I'm just still curious how it's going to turn out. We'll see.
I need some help.
God damn. Okay, I'm sorry. I just wish that he would just. I wish WB and everybody just let Snyder finish out his fucking universe, and then they could have reset with the fucking Flash.
That ain't gonna happen though.
Not anymore, but they could have.
They could have a long time ago.
Fantastic.
That's not Gunn's fault.
Have been
that's not James Gunn's fault either.
Just the fact that we got the Snyder cut though, Psycho, was actually insane. So at least we got that right,
and that shows you how incredible that arc would have been to see Darkseid, because we won't see Darkseid again, and it won't be Zack Snyder's version.
Too many egos involved with Warner Brothers, so they need to kind of.
I'm just saying, we're probably going to get dick and fart jokes in these James Gunn movies.
That's a guarantee. That's a guarantee.
Yeah, but do you want to see Superman flying around?
Well, I mean, let's hope that he stays true to whatever characters he's working with.
It's James Gunn.
Yeah, but like the only things we know for him so far with like is Suicide Squad and Guardians of the Galaxy. We're both like pretty silly properties to begin with, right?
Well, the
So
first one wasn't silly, and then he just copied and molded the second one to be like Guardian Galaxies because that was
yeah, but
that
everybody
was the
loved that
success.
Suicide Squad movie.
Yeah,
Psycho.
because it was
He made
it was funny, dick and fart
Blackburn,
jokes.
right? Did he make Blackburn? That was pretty dark, I think. I haven't finished watching.
He also
Yeah.
did the John's I forgot Peacemaker is a Peacemaker show
Mhm.
with John Cena on HBO, which was pretty
Yeah, that
good.
was
that was
ass.
very like
You
That
didn't like
was
it?
one big
No.
dick
No,
and fart joke.
It
I
was.
liked it, but it was very much his humor still. So I get what Psycho's saying, but like,
I get it, but like I don't think if he does that with Superman, I agree with you, Psycho. Then
Well,
that's
see,
like, but
the
I don't
thing
think
was,
people tolerate that.
DC was more serious with their storytelling. That's why I liked it because it was more
Yeah, I
serious.
did too.
More, and then the whole funny haha stuff was Marvel. I mean, and that was fine. That was the best of both worlds. And now they're trying to copy Marvel, and it's just like you lost your identity, and now you're gonna fucking. All we care about is the money. That's what pisses me off because they're trying to chase that fucking beat.
But even when Marvel has that happy stuff, they also had some serious moments too, like with Winter Soldier and stuff. Like Marvel had a
Black Widow
pretty,
is pretty serious too.
Yeah, it had
Yeah.
Marvel still has a diverse portfolio. Like I know they're known for that, but they still have like some like spy genres and stuff mixed in with their movies too. Like I know they're known for their jokes and
we'll have to wait and see how it all pans out.
we'll
but
see.
I do understand your concern, Psycho, with that, right? For sure.
I know I could go off on a fucking tangent again, but I don't want to.
Relsky
Let's
says,
move on.
Can we include this segment each week? The thing is it's dangerous for us to do that because we get carried away.
Also, Fuzzy hasn't talked in an hour, so
yeah, yeah, it is dangerous because we all like almost equal. At least me, 3-bit, Jasper, and Psycho. Like we talk a little bit about this with Fuzzy sometimes, but like, we're almost as passionate about, or maybe equally as passionate about this MCU stuff and DC stuff as we are gaming, right? And that's why we had a whole show on this channel before about it, and it was called Fun Pop, and it was its own podcast. But it was just hard to do 4 shows a week, and But if we have the whole segment again, which I thought was probably going to be 20 minutes or so, it's now 9:56 my time, and we're almost an hour into the show. So this is the danger about including Fun Pop weekly on FSP, which I've considered.
Usually if it's like a slow weekend.
This is a slow game news week for sure.
It's kind of a slow. Right. Like we have some news where the gamer case was dropped, which we can talk about. And they have like 20 days.
We haven't even talked about the main title of the show.
I know, which is Diablo.
Right? Oh, it wasn't Fun Pop?
No, this is just the Fuzzies were gonna be real happy right now because moving on from that, I did want to talk about our experiences with the Diablo beta, which has taken the world by storm, right? Like for a beta to be the talk of gaming for an entire weekend with a lot of other stuff out there, a lot of other stuff to play, including another beta that we played this weekend that we had a lot of fun with. Diablo just kind of owned the gaming conversation for 3 full days. And still today, everybody's talking about it. And guess what? It's going to happen again next weekend. Because next weekend is the real open beta, where everybody's going to get to dive in without pre-ordering or buying chicken sandwiches. So we'll see if KFC's stock dips a little bit after Psycho's no longer buying Double Downs or chicken minis or
after they lost $1 billion in just leftover chicken sandwiches for people ordering bacon.
They had upsale in fucking products sold, but a huge uptick with waste. Like we threw away everything we sold. What's going on?
They just want you to buy a Coke with every chicken sandwich. That's how they make their money, right? But
but don't forget, Coke is being sold by Pepsi. And BK,
Coke is being bought by Burger King. You mean?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, Coke is being bought by, but McDonald's is going to fight it.
Oh my god!
Y'all see that
guy?
I
That
said
fucking idiot.
weeks ago, like I warned people about his chat, and then he blew up. I'm like, oh man.
Well, in fact, came out that again with more stuff regarding his old sexual harassment claims too. Like, we're talking about this YouTuber, called Reforged Gaming that I was aware of his channel. I didn't really frequent it, but 3-Bit got into it with his chat a couple weeks back because he was talking about that Starfield was going to be a timed exclusive still, right? And then since then he's like gone down this like downward spiral of like just weird takes, and I think it's probably because he's getting a lot of attention, which again I'm bringing attention to him now, so I guess it's stupid, but like that's I'm talking about it because this is what you guys were bringing up with that whole Coke scenario.
Weeks
So
ago.
this guy used a Coke analogy to describe the ABK deal, basically comparing Call of Duty to Coke. And McDonald's not liking if Coke was bought out by another company, costing it money. And I don't understand where he's going. I mean, I just maybe think he was hungry when he was making this analogy. I mean,
But to be fair, like your analogies usually don't work out
I make
too
weird
great.
analogies too. You know what I mean? But like the thing is, I understand mine are silly and random and like just stupid, but like this guy's like doubling down, or people like really doubling down fighting for this analogy on Twitter, like, no, this analogy makes sense, this is why, and like people are just keep discussing this stupid fucking analogy
I think just
on Twitter like it's its own thing. It's the conversation has even left the building of the whole ABK thing. Now it's just like, does this person have a right to this analogy or not? And it's like, it's so weird, man. This is like not. This is what happens when we have slow news, right? So I made a tweet earlier, so another slow news Monday, because instead of talking about whatever cool stuff there is, it's about if somebody has a right to make a dumb analogy about Coke and ABK. It's so weird, man. It's anyway. But yeah, Starfield is an exclusive. I saw Colt Eastwood actually went back and tweeted a 2021 reply from Aaron Greenberg confirming it's not timed. So anyway,
it's so weird how like every few months it comes back that like, oh, maybe Starfield's going to PlayStation. Like I think a lot of PlayStation fans are just setting themselves up for disappointment when it never comes there, like because they have the hope that it's coming. But the good thing is if you if you're on the Xbox side of things, you have so many different options to play Starfield in. Like,
just
you don't
subscribe to Game Pass or buy the game and play it in like 5 different places besides the PlayStation.
I think what they're trying to do is tug on the ear of Phil Spencer. Like if they keep on talking about Starfield coming to PlayStation, they figure, well, maybe he'll listen, like he listens to Xbox fans. Maybe he'll listen to us and see that there's so many PlayStation people that want to play. But it's like, you guys were always talking about Xbox exclusives being on PC, and I could just play it there, or I could play it on my TV. And it's like, oh, all of a sudden you forgot what you said like 6 months ago.
Yeah,
it's
like a lot of Reforge's arguments is what the PlayStation community keeps bringing up, where they say, look at Minecraft. And using that as an example, even though that's not a great pick for where they're going with a lot of their games. Like Xbox is allowed to have some exclusives, and what they're choosing to make exclusive does make sense for their overall goal of bringing in people into their ecosystem, like Call of Duty for Game Pass. Minecraft was pretty much already on multiple platforms, so every other game, it makes sense for it to be exclusive, but it feels like on the Xbox side of things, like they're not allowed to have exclusives. Like it's so weird. And then PlayStation is like making exclusives like constantly. But
and like Xbox has more games on PlayStation by far than PlayStation has on Xbox. Like it's
I think doesn't PlayStation block Minecraft crossplay like with Xbox? I think they do. Like I think Minecraft can crossplay with anyone but Xbox, whereas Xbox can crossplay with anyone but PlayStation.
That might be because Microsoft may not want to agree to their whole transaction
yeah.
like
that
thing.
crossplay tax.
Yeah.
Microsoft may say fuck you with the tax, right? Where third parties aren't gonna do that, right? They're because they're gonna feel like they need PlayStation, right? Poison Maniacs bringing the receipts on a lot of the stuff that I was talking about that I saw on Twitter. And this is why I don't like talking about this guy too much, but said he's banned from Twitch, banned from Destiny, and rebranded. Definitely screams innocence. He also made an hour-long vid and admitted then he deleted it, then made another hour-long vid and said the claims were false. And he also apologized in that first vid. Dude is just shady in his book. And then he said, look at his hidden replies in his tweets. Yeah, I've had my guard up with him and stuff like that, because like when it's multiple people, especially that say those things, you know, it's like I feel like it probably holds some truth. And I'm talking about.
I did not know he was gonna blow it. Like I jumped in his chat because I kept getting recommended it on YouTube, and I was looking up Starfield news. It's like, oh, what's this guy have to say? I had no idea who he was, and then he was telling his chat like, yeah, Starfield is definitely coming to PlayStation. Look what
I
they
didn't
did with
even know
Minecraft.
about the guy until
And-
you tweeted about it like in our DMs, and then I went and looked at it. I was like, oh, and now like I'm just constantly recommending this fucking dude. So thank you, 3-bit.
I
You're
did.
welcome.
I
The
saw
problem
some.
is,
Yeah, go ahead.
It's all
Sam.
your fault.
yeah, I was
This
just
was like
the thing
weeks
is
ago.
yeah, people, if you fucking sit there and say Starfield's gonna come to PlayStation and you shit on fucking anything Xbox, you'll get all those clicks from those toxic fucking fanboys. But once you start making because he says I can talk about PlayStation and Xbox, and my fans will not leave me because I have that freedom, and certain content creators cannot do that because they can only be specific to Xbox or just PlayStation. I have the freedom to do both, and everyone still loves me. And I'm like, ego fucking trip this motherfucker has. What the fuck?
I love when
I just want
somebody.
a sample of the drugs this guy has got to be on if he thinks that.
I just love when I saw somebody call him the dollar store Colin Moriarty.
Yeah.
I thought that was the greatest fucking comment that I've ever seen. I just keep your guard up on
like he's very
Yeah.
much trying to he's like
I mean, he knows what he's
he
doing.
constantly
Yeah.
says he's not biased, like he likes
Got-
PlayStation, likes Xbox. He's kind of in the middle, but the way he always phrases things is always in the negative
Yeah,
side.
And he
it's one of
blocks
those-
everyone that criticized him anyway, so he's hiding like the negative. He's trying to hide all like the
Yeah.
criticism he gets by just blocking everyone.
Mhm.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
Just keep your guard up, everybody. And, like
Yeah,
he's
just
got
look out for
he's
him.
got a growing channel,
Block
and
him.
all that kind of stuff. Like, and his channel's very well good production values. He's good at speaking. You know, like he obviously works really hard at it and all that kind of stuff. But like when you have that kind of past, also, and you just rebrand and come up with this new identity and stuff, it just I don't know. Like I was I
History
had
tends to repeat itself.
yeah I hadn't been aware of that until
Yeah, just look
recently.
out for him, or just don't block him.
Yeah.
Move on.
Anyway, I don't want to have the show be about a content creator too much. Anyway,
Sorry
uh,
for I didn't
those
mean
in
to
the
bring
chat,
that up.
so-
Fuck,
yeah, it's all right.
sorry.
Vik The CLiCK hit us with a $2 super chat. Said I'm okay with more fun pop. Appreciate you, Vic. Yeah, I would
Fun
love
pop.
to talk more fun pop stuff for sure.
We also got to talk about Diablo that we just skipped over.
Yeah, we did. So Fuzzy has not had a chance to play the Diablo beta.
No.
3-bit has not had a chance. But do y'all have any kind of like reaction for the vibe of the community, at least, or like feelings from what y'all have seen from the
Yeah,
beta?
with people already saying that it's their game of the year and it's just the demo, that really bodes well. Because I mean, then again, it depends on the end game, but so far, if people are saying that it's like their game of the year, I think this thing is going to be an instant hit. I'm looking forward to the open weekend this coming weekend, but I don't know. Is it what's the over or under of a queue the first day? I mean, they'll get it fixed no matter what. But
the launch day, they're going to get DDoS and the servers aren't going to be up, guaranteed.
like, didn't they say that it was something like 4 million active users or something like that?
It was insane. The first day there was queues like 20 something minutes and stuff like that. and then you would play, and then sometimes you get kicked out, you know. So then they had to start trying to manage the amount of people that would be in, you know. So and then when I saw people tweeting, and it's the person we were just talking about also saying that it's completely unacceptable. There's no way this game's going to be fixed in time. 3 months is just around the corner. You guys are crazy if you think this isn't going to be an issue. In the next day, it was fixed. Like the day 2, like we played for about 5 hours straight, Jasper, that next day, I feel like, and I didn't have one disconnect at all, right, that second day, and there was no queues, right? And that night should have actually been busier than the previous night, because that was Saturday
The weekend.
night. Yeah. And you know, like, so that was probably a busier day. So I feel like, yes, they're probably going to have issues again with the open beta, and I'll even maybe on launch day or whatever, but they've already proven with this scenario that they can fix whatever these issues are pretty quickly, right?
I just know that it's Blizzard, and for some reason the internet hates Blizzard. Like anytime they launch a new product, they usually get attacked online. Just from past comments
what
that
happened
the
with
companies,
Overwatch, right?
yeah,
First,
that,
yeah.
just from past comments that they've made and stuff. But also with Diablo specifically, I'm hoping that they learn from their lessons from Diablo Immortal and don't microtransaction the hell out of the end game to where you have to actually pay for gems and shit to actually progress and stuff like that. So I'm hoping they learn their lessons from Diablo Immortal, but I don't know. We'll see. It's again Blizzard, so they could microtransaction the hell out of the game.
One thing that was apparent, and this is true for all Blizzard games, so the hate that goes on to Blizzard for their games, I don't necessarily always understand. Optimized out the ass. I mean, this experience on Series X, for me, I didn't play on Series S, but I heard people say good things. I saw somebody in the chat. Let me see who it was. They said the Series S version was really good as well. Oh yeah, Sappho, and it runs extremely well on Series S. Yeah, I think it's 1440 on Series S and
it's
4K 60.
1440 60 on Series S and 1440 30 on Xbox One X. So
okay. And what about Series
I don't know,
X,
but I don't know
4K
about
60?
Series X. I just saw the two comparisons between One X and Series
4K
S.
60 to me on Series X, and I didn't. We had 4-player squads rolling, and we had a clan going. I tried to make the Diablo buddies clan. That name was taken. Then I tried to make the Marchers. That name was taken. So then we did DB Marchers. So we have a clan going on there, and we had 4 people playing: me, Jasper, Psycho, and Pong. For off and on throughout 3 days, and we all hit level 25 with our characters. We took on the world boss, and we took down the world boss on day 2. We had 2 level 25s at that point, and me and Jasper were level 23 then. We hit 25 later that night. And I gotta say, this beta, not only did it play extremely well, man, it was massive. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons that beta was played so much, because there was not I mean, you could have played for all 3 days and still had stuff to do, right? I mean, even if you maxed out a character and did everything, at that point, you can just start another character, you know what I mean? And completely experiment. And they really did a good job of getting the whole Diablo experience feel for people out there, because you had story missions, you had side missions, you had all of these dungeons to go into, mini dungeons. You had all the skill trees were open completely. You had the extra things, you know, like enchantments and all this codexes. I mean, all this stuff in the game, to where you can really get a taste of what this game may be within the grander scale. But even with as much as we played, I didn't even make a huge dent in the map that was in the beta. Like, I don't know if you uncovered the whole map, Jasper and Psycho.
Yeah, I did.
I didn't uncover the whole
map. I went just
map.
exploring just to find everything.
Yeah.
I I posted it in our DMs. I went everywhere I was able to without it saying that you're you can't go here. We're gonna warp you back to the border. So I walked the entire every single place. I looked. I was trying to see if they had like one section open a little bit more than the other, and but so I posted.
There was a tracker at the top of the thing where you hit Y, you can claim rewards or whatever, but it also showed you how many like waypoints and stuff that you found and how many side quests you did. Like I think it was 6 out of 7 or 5 out of 6 like of the town teleporter waypoints that you could find. I kept thinking there was one more, so I just kept exploring and I could never find the last one. So I guess there was one missing from that first area in the game.
Did you find the other strongholds?
Yeah, the other 2 were on the map.
Yeah, I found one of the other ones, and it was one where they had the like church in it that was on fire.
Yeah, that was the like possessed vampire people, I think, or whatever.
That was cool. There was so much, man. Like
I found Morlock. Is it
Malnock?
Malnock. I found him. He was a motherfucker. I couldn't do it by myself, even with my my rogue.
You had to tag team him.
Well, no, because the thing with my rogue is is a tank as long as I'm being surrounded by people. So when there's it's a crowd control.
Oh, so you're like gangbang's got it.
Yeah. So when I'm surrounded by people, my health barely depletes, and I would have taken him out. But it was solo 1-on-1. He was just way too powerful. I couldn't get it. Like if I had Pong with me, or like Mav with your Warlock, we probably could have easily taken him out with your distant fighting and whatnot. Because
I kept trying different builds with the sorcerer. One cool thing you could do in the beta too is reallocate all your ability points, right? So I made like an ice build, I made a fire build, I made a lightning build with a sorcerer. It was really cool. Alvin hit us with a $5 super chat. Said, seeing some talk online about the barbarian being weak. Don't believe it. With the right drops, bleed barbarian was melting all and didn't have to potion after level 14. Jasper was running barbarian. I was running sorcerer. Psycho and Pong were running rogue. And you were doing, at level 23, Jasper, you were doing massive damage on the world boss. Like you were hitting like 700 plus, I think, at that time.
Yeah, I don't know how massive that was, because I don't know the comparison between like what you all were actually doing on it.
I wasn't doing that. I can tell you that.
Okay. Sure. But yeah, I haven't seen people say the barbarian's weak. I've seen people say it's actually OP and they need to balance him down a bit. So I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that with the sorcerer. People call the sorcerer OP as well. Here's the thing: I don't give a shit if it's OP or not. I just want to have fun with it.
Yeah,
right.
No.
It's like a co-op, like run around and kill enemies type game. So I honestly, I don't know how you guys feel, but my feedback for the beta for Diablo, don't change a damn thing.
Yeah, put the game out 3 months sooner.
Just put the game out. Put the game out 3 months from now. Have the servers great, and don't change. Like, don't tweak too much. Because this for me is gonna, like, I got to play Starfield, right? Obviously, but with just this taste of Diablo 4, this is gonna potentially give Starfield a run for its money for me for Game of the Year, right? And at Starfield, I don't know. Like I said, I got to play it. I have in my mind what Starfield is, and I have these astronomical expectations of the experience that I'm gonna have with it. But the thing is, I got to play Diablo 4.
Also, the thing with the Diablo, I think it's going to be better for the casuals, because like the past Diablos, like, to get into the story, you either had to read a shit ton, or what Diablo 3 did is they would give you some like kind of like half done cutscene where they would like draw on some paper and then like put text at the bottom and like whatever. But like this, they're doing full cutscenes, and if they're not doing cutscenes, they're doing like in-game, in-engine like cutscene talking stuff. So they're making it more appealing to the casual market where you don't have to read and shit. So good on that. So I think it could do really well.
The story.
I really like Diablo 3. I know a lot of people didn't, but like I mean that's like the Final Fantasy 15 for me. Like people have this history of Final Fantasy games that they really like, but
Mhm.
Diablo 3 was like the first Diablo I jumped into, and it was like
Same. That's what
fun
got
for
me
me.
into like the genre, like this kind of like dungeon crawling genre shit. So like
Even
I
with
like
that though,
Diablo
three
3.
Yeah.
bit, when we say like when a lot of us say, oh, we don't like it's like I think preferred aspects of Diablo 2 over Diablo 3, but I don't know how many people actually just dislike Diablo 3. I mean, it's been like a generational
Well,
type,
I just
long
seen like
lasting game, you
the
know?
it's usually a consensus that people who have played the other Diablos, there's certain things they like about Diablo 2 and 1
Yeah,
that wasn't in
exactly.
3. Like, oh man, it's not missing that, you know. And
And,
apparently it was pretty different, but I don't really know because I
well,
haven't played the other.
the main aspect for me between Diablo 3 and 2 was the darkness of it, like the grit of it, like the vibe of the game. Like 3 is a lot more colorful, a little bit more lighthearted, and you had like Deckard Cain is just talking. You know, it's like it was. I mean, it was cool, but like I mean, with Diablo 4, I mean, they went deep and dark like fast.
Diablo
You know,
3 almost seemed like they kind of went like a little cartoony route with like the art style a bit. Like it's not cartoony, but like
yeah,
the way they
totally.
did it is just like
And this one is this went back to
The best thing I
it's
can
more realistic.
explain it, and somebody that hasn't played the other Diablos 3-bit was like, think of Gears 1 to 3, and then think of Gears 4 and 5. Right?
okay. That's a good
Does
analogy.
that make
The first few
sense?
games.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and people that are Gears fans want that like original Gears feel again, but they still like Gears 4 and 5 a lot. But this Diablo 4,
Wait, people like Gears 4?
yeah, somewhat.
Yeah,
But
some people.
this
Gears
Diablo,
5 people.
the Diablo 4 beta for me was like everybody that's been wanting that dark grit from like the first Diablos, like especially 2. It like did that, but times 10. Right?
Mm.
I mean, Psycho, you were like almost. It sounded like you're about to have an orgasm when you were watching one of the cutscenes.
Yo, dude. So that beginning, that second, I think it was the second cutscene where he goes into
The
the
church.
church where he finds the petals and has a vision. Oh my god, that was like a beautiful say the writing in the book in the book. The writing in this game is so fucking great that it felt like a legitimate sermon that Lilith was giving, and I was
Oh, you were
fucking
convinced, so you were joining her. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, he was
yeah.
like
I
the
was
the crazy
I was
face lady. You
wide
know,
eyed, ready to like, yes, mother, what do you need? Like fucking that shit got me like, wow, this shit is fucking convincing as fuck. And
Did you finish the campaign missions that were available in the beta, Psycho?
yeah,
Okay, so you saw the like the cutscene where like you were in like the dark cave and like Lilith like kind of walked down the stairs at the. It was like the last mission for the campaign.
oh no, I did not do that one.
Okay, because there was like
I
another
must have
cutscene
missed
with
one.
her that she like found. I can't really say anything without spoilers or whatever, but she found a family member. I'll just say that.
Mm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I did not do that one because I was playing today. I went to with a sorcerer this time around, and I was going through. I got up to level 15, and then the beta ended at, I think it was like, I want to say 2-ish about.
yeah, they left
So
it
when
running a
it
little
ended,
bit longer. I think.
Because like
yeah,
it started explaining like the reasons why Lilith is here, and like I was like, holy
yeah,
shit.
yeah. I that one I missed. I because we did all of them up except for that one Sunday night.
Yeah.
But it's fucking awesome. It's like the best of 2 with the modern controls of 3, and they just made this beautiful baby that is Diablo 4. That's what I could, because
How are
they
the
took
like effects of the spells and stuff? Like that's not what
Amazing.
you guys are saying cartoon or cartoony,
No,
right?
what?
So the art style of the characters.
Just the
Where
it's hard to describe.
It wasn't realistic. Like Diablo 3 wasn't like, it didn't feel like it was a realistic thing. Whereas like the previous ones, they were kind of going for a more realistic art style. Whereas Diablo 3 was like
But what do you mean by
like not
like the
shell shaded,
characters?
but yeah, like just everything. Like
Y-
Gears,
it was
Gears,
more
Gears
bright.
example. It's all the same. It's all the same stuff as in the game. There's just a little bit slightly different tone that kind of shifts it because of the art style and the colors and used and things like that,
Yeah.
and even the cutscenes and stuff like this. Like cutscenes in this one were just like, oh my! Even with what's the fucking the guy with the I forget his name.
Ingress?
Not Azazel or whatever. You know the guy with the
Incarus or something
yeah,
like that?
something like
Yeah.
even his scene, and he's turned around and he has his hood on, and he's like talking, and
Mhm.
it's just like it's like everything I could have possibly wanted in a Diablo game is in this. Like for me, and I know I see different takes online. Some people say, well, they took too much from Path of Exile, or they did this, or they did that, or they and there's criticisms and stuff left to right where people are nitpicking and complaining and making big deals about little things, right? But for me, like taking this game in for what it is right now, like they could have not have hit a bigger home run with what I wanted for a Diablo game. Like it's just like
I normally don't play
on the
those type
money.
of games. Like Diablo 3, I just remember having a really good time with Diablo 3, and I normally don't play that style of game, but when I played Diablo 3, I was like obsessed with it for a bit. So it's cool to hear there's a lot of positive reception for it.
And going back to your like thing on effects or whatever, like I felt early on I was really disappointed with that just because like I hadn't unlocked that stuff, but like later on I could see the barbarian have a lot more effects, but for me I was a little disappointed with it. Like towards the end of the beta I got fire tornadoes and earthquakes and stuff. So
Is it like it's probably like smaller when you like the lower levels, and then
yeah,
they like
because you don't have
reward
as many like
for-
skills and stuff.
Ye-
But I just like also I was a melee class, so I didn't expect I was gonna have many abilities, and I usually prefer necromancer where I can just throw shit on the screen and cover it up with the stuff. So it's
like dogs and just send people. Yeah, that was my favorite.
Because I was
the third one.
I was playing rogue, so I had an ability. It was my ultimate called Death Trap, and that brings up a ring in the middle of the map, and it's took majority of the map, and it just did X amount of damage. Now, when you upgraded it, because you can go to like there's your main skill, and then there's two subset of like bonus effects that it could do. So it usually has your main skill, one bonus, and then there's you can pick from either one, and then it branches off. You can have one or the other. You can't have both. So it's like with the death trap, it was it did critical hit points, and then you could either and then it did anybody that was killed in the death trap, it lowers the cooldown by 10 seconds, and then the other one was it sucked everyone in that's in the area of the vicinity of the death trap. And the animation, it was just like this fog, this purple fog that just comes up, and there these like spiritual people just came out of the ground, and then it's like when it sucked everyone up, they started shooting, throwing their knives and whatnot at them. I mean, it's really cool. Like I was playing sorcerer, and I had electric. I was doing like lightning and stuff. And it was fucking phenomenal. Like
the chain
effects,
lightning is amazing.
yeah, chain lightning, and
was the cutscenes, sorry to clear, was the cutscenes Blur?
Yeah, that's
Studio?
usually who they contract out, so I'm assuming it is, but I don't know. I mean, they were still really good though.
They're amazing. Like
the guy who oh yeah, I was gonna say the guy who's the head of Blur, a lot of people don't know, is Tim Miller. Who's the director of Deadpool. A lot of people don't No, and he did Love, Death Robots. He's
Blur
great.
is probably like the best CG studio out there. I think. I mean, just insane. I can't say enough good things. This I can probably go ahead and say will most likely be a Game of the Year contender based on what we saw and played.
If they get the end game right,
If they get
and
the
they don't
end game
piss
right.
people off,
Right.
Well, they had 1 million players make it to level 20.
Yeah,
over
I
the
don't
weekend.
like. I assumed everyone was going to make it, so like they're saying 1 million people. Guys, like, oh, that's like quite low. I figured like everyone would
For
get.
a beta though, that's quite a bit of people.
I
That
mean, we
spent
got
enough,
there within like a few hours.
Yeah,
maybe
like
6 hours or so, probably. I think.
yeah,
Yeah, it was up for 3.5 days.
I was already at level 17, and I just started the character. I played maybe 2 hours last night, and then maybe 4 hours today, and I was already at 17. So it doesn't take very long to get to 20. So either some people played it and said cool, or other people were just had too much shit to do. And they were, maybe they played Friday, saw that there was server issues, and they're like, oh, it's gonna be like this all fucking weekend. Fuck this shit, and didn't play.
Yeah.
But they were
Yeah,
sadly
quite
mistaken
possible.
because Saturday was near flawless. I got disconnected once, but it reconnected me right into Pong's game right from the instant of where I left off. So
Nice.
it was that was like, oh, that didn't happen Friday at all. Friday I had to reboot the whole. I had to force quit to the home screen with the game. This time around, I just went back in, boom, put me right back in that instance, and I didn't get the loot that because we were in a dungeon, but it is what it was. It was kind of like Pong with his didn't get that box from the dragon and from the world boss. So he everyone got like 8 to 10 fucking legendary equipment, and Pong, for whatever reason, he did not get his little cache
Bonus
box.
loot box, yeah.
The little cache that everyone got for defeating it. So it was just weird. And that's why there's betas for
But
these
that could
little
just be a
bugs.
RNG drop, so maybe he just got
Yeah.
unlucky,
Oh,
It could've
Jasper,
been.
did you play on PC or on console?
I just played on Xbox. I pre-ordered it there, so I could get the.
It was
Just-
crossplay. Like some people could play on PC, and
Yeah, that's as far as I know.
Nice.
Crossplay.
could you do probably not PlayStation, right? Unless they paid that money.
I'm pretty sure it's crossplay on PlayStation, but I'm not sure. When we invited each other to the game, we didn't do it through the Xbox party. We did it through the clan system within the game, right?
Yeah.
And it had like the Xbox logos next to our names, right? So for whatever that's worth, I don't know 100% if it's crossplay, but
I think that just the Xbox party thing is because it's a beta, and it showed it as when we were playing Diablo 4, it showed us we were on the home instead of saying like playing Diablo. So I think the invite system was just messed up through Xbox because it's a beta and they're trying to like hide certain functionality.
Yeah, there's little things that need to tweak, but they could, if that game had launched and been in that state, like after day 1, into day 2, I think everybody would have been happy. You know what I mean? There's so many games that come out like that have way worse problems, especially online games like that. And it was just great. Game of the year though, man, it's going to be a crazy year. I said on Twitter that, Keely's going to have his hands full. He might have to have 10 nominees this year because like Diablo 4, I think is probably should be up there and probably will be up there. Resident Evil 4 remake just came out. It's like a 93 on Meta or whatever. Pong and it doesn't think that should qualify for a game of the year because it's a remake.
There's 3 remakes that are going to be so far this year. Or
Dead Space remake.
That's going to be pretty decent. So they might as well make a new category for it.
They could make their own category. Best remake. Yeah.
I still haven't played Dead Space. There's too many games that came out randomly at once, and I completely forgot about Dead Space, like Hogwarts and stuff. But I definitely will go back and check out Dead Space.
What other games y'all think could be there? Like Jedi Survivor, maybe.
No,
Yeah.
not game of the year.
They got snubbed last time because of the
They're
launch
gonna
time.
get.
They're
I
gonna get
mean,
snubbed again.
I think it's a great game, but I just don't know with what it's competing with this year that it's not going to stand a chance.
Yeah, it's hard to judge too. Like a game could come out and be horrible. Like the games that aren't out yet, right?
Zelda's like pretty much guaranteed. it's gonna be
Zelda,
there.
Zelda will
Spider-Man
be there,
2.
Spider-Man 2, Starfield could very well be, Diablo 4, right?
Yeah, that's 4.
Is there one more?
Hi-Fi Rush.
You gotta have your
Isn't,
indie
uh,
artsy fartsy thing. So whatever that's going to be.
Hollow Knight
if they
Silk
do-
Song. Keep your eye on that.
Yeah,
Hollow Knight, Silksong, or Hi-Fi Rush could be up
Yeah.
there for the indie.
I think Hi-Fi
Indie
Rush is
darling.
going to get overlooked. for it.
Hi-Fi Rush isn't indie and artsy fartsy enough.
I think Hi-Fi Rush is going to get overlooked for it. It ties with Xbox. It's at the Game Awards, and I feel like there's only going to allow so many Xbox IPs at the
Yeah.
Game Awards for the
Like
nominees.
2 Xbox.
They would have more
IPs.
Sony
No,
games, but they only have one to offer this year.
They'll
I-
put a VR game up there.
Depending
wait,
on
Final Fantasy.
Oh,
Final Fantasy.
they better not.
Final Fantasy 16 could be.
Final
Depending
Fantasy,
on
yeah.
Diablo 4. I mean, not Diablo 4. Sorry, Redfall. Depending on how Redfall does, it could be there. Arcane has been nominated for multiple Game of the Year awards before.
Yeah.
Did Prey get nominated for Game of the Year? The last one.
I think it did. I
Did it?
definitely did, but I think Prey did as
What
well.
about Deathloop?
What year did? Let's see. I'll just Google it.
Yeah, Deathloop was
Prey.
one of the nominees for Game of the Year, and it
2017.
won a bunch of other awards.
Yeah,
for
we're
like,
like hundreds of awards.
Best Supporting Actor or
Dishonored,
Voice Actor. And
I think
stuff
won
like that.
Game of the Year before.
You think Redfall is gonna win any awards?
It could. I don't know. The thing is, I think we'll find out a lot of impressions. maybe
So
tomorrow
the year that
or
Prey
Wednesday.
came out, Breath of the Wild came out, Horizon Zero Dawn, Persona 5, Players Unknown's Battlegrounds, and Super Mario Odyssey was the Game of Year nominations.
The year that Prey came
So-
out.
So
Okay.
Prey got overlooked.
So what else is hitting this year still? Hogwarts Legacy could be up for Game of the Year as well.
Yeah.
That's one.
Oh
of the-
yeah. So
Uh,
maybe
That's the-
Hogwarts instead of Final Fantasy.
I will say the story of Hogwarts isn't going to hold up to a lot of these other big games coming out. But the amount of talk and sales that I got could prolong it to just be like more casual market to get up there. But I don't know. It's just see how that plays out.
The thing is, it's crazy is that it's our only March, and we're able to even have this conversation right now because the anticipation, and we know that these games are going to be so solid. And Diablo 4 cemented that for me now, right? And you said Hi-Fi Rush. I don't know. It would deserve it in most years. This year is so loaded, though. Like this year is so loaded that it's going to be hard to pick certain games to be there.
And if Hellblade
Expand the
still
field.
Yeah, 10 nominees like the Oscars.
Yeah, but even if you what the fuck's the point of putting 10 nominees when you still got to choose one? You know, it's like
Yeah. Jay Rimbert with the $5 super chat said, "Facts, Mav. This is Keeley, the PS fanboy we're talking about." Yeah, I think Starfield will be like the biggest
the
representation.
only
for
Xbox,
Microsoft.
only one Xbox game
What
is
if
allowed.
Hellblade
this
2?
year.
Well, if Hellblade 2 comes out this year, do you think it would probably miss the mark for the Game Awards though?
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably.
it'll probably
Yeah.
get snubbed because it won't get nominated in the next year's either.
That would be, I guarantee, shoe in for the nominee. If
Yeah.
it would probably
did Plextel get nominated for Game of the Year last year?
I
They
don't know.
got
think it-
something.
I don't think it did. So I would say Hellblade was probably on par with that though. So I would say
Maybe-
Hellblade would probably get snubbed at the
Well, the main reason I was thinking of the snub is based on release date, right?
yeah.
Because if it hits this year, it's probably going to be November, December, right? December is not hitting the window for sure. Because I mean, the Game Awards are in November.
You pretty much are
done.
guaranteed to get snubbed if you release, unless you're God of War releasing like October. Or something.
It would have
You
to
will-
release very
thing
early
is-
November or late October.
I am 100% positive on 3 games, and the 4th one I know has to be an indie artsy fartsy. So the only thing is, like, there's only one more game that I don't know about, and the 3 that I'm guaranteed on is Starfield,
Mhm.
Spider-Man 2, and Zelda. That's the 3 guarantees for Game of the Year. fourth is indie artsy
Yeah.
fartsy, and fifth is
Diablo is
I don't
gonna
know.
be up there, I'm sure.
Diablo, Jasper.
So it's just one
Yeah.
left.
And it's indie artsy fartsy.
It's probably gonna be an RT first.
What
Yeah.
what if this year's
I mean-
so big though that's not going to be a
There
thing?
is no RT first.
Indie
see.
artsy fartsy would be Benedict Fox or Silk
Yeah.
Song
or replaced if it hits.
or replace. Yeah, because I
Oh,
think
yeah,
that
forgot that
still
game.
might be on target.
This year is exhausting.
It's the year of the
This is-
backlog.
It's too many games coming
And
out.
Forza
this year.
Motorsport could literally launch and have like a 94 on or 95 on Metacritic and still not get a nomination for Game of the Year.
It's a
'Cause
racing
racing
game. It's
games
too
don't get
niche.
nominated.
Yeah.
That's so annoying. Like, I mean, we've had this conversation, but racing games deserve to get any genre of game should be at least I don't know, notified for Game of the Year.
Yeah,
Like, there
they-
should be a
I know they
specific
have-
genre.
I know they have the different
It's-
genre categories. I don't I think those are like, hey, we're gonna throw you into its own genre because we don't want to include you with this with the like overall aspect, right? I agree with you,
Mhm.
3-bit. Like, you didn't used to be that way back in the day. A game was a game, right? And it didn't have to be like a story-based action adventure game to be considered for something like that. But I feel like PlayStation
Yeah, if
has
it's
kind
a
of done
good
that to the
game, then-
industry in a way where it's like it has to be this, or it's not really considered like an amazing game. But like, did y'all see that Tekken 8 martial law trailer?
Ooh, yeah.
I mean,
he was like,
Damn.
yeah, that was cool.
like these fighting games. What if these fighting games come and they hit like that? And we're also expecting Ed Boon's the next Mortal Kombat this year, right?
Yeah.
That, I mean, you could have a year where Tekken 8, Street Fighter 6, and Mortal Kombat 12 all hit the same year as what it's looking like, and they could all be amazing games, but all get shafted out of potential category because they are only a specific genre.
Well, has
Right.
a fighter game ever got Game of the Year nomination? Like maybe Smash Bros, but I don't think there's been another fighter
Well,
game.
why
Smash
should
Bros is
Smash
about
Bros
the-
get nominated and not any others? You know what I mean?
Just
Like,
because it's more casual.
well, fuck that. Like, these games look amazing. You know, like,
yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I've always had that thought that like, no matter what the genre is, it should be nominated for Game of the Year, not just because it's popular or whatever. Like breaking away from sales, even, just like if it's a good game, it deserves to be up there. Whether it's a racing game, a card game, I don't really get if it's a good game. It's a good game. Like imagine someone works let's say they work on Mortal Kombat, the next Mortal Kombat for like, I don't know, 8+ years. They put all this detail in the fighting systems and make it super polished, and it's automatically disqualified from being Game of the Year just because of its genre. Like, I feel like that's kind of messed up.
Lonzo wants to put a bet out there that Starfield wins Game of the Year. It's gonna be a tough year, man. I hope it does. I mean, it very well could be.
I hope it does, but going against Zelda, there's like this unrelenting love of Nintendo games that
Zelda can run at fucking 10 FPS, and that's when you get Game of the Year.
yeah, exactly.
Alvin
So,
with the $2 super chat says, got $25. It says Spidey 2 won't get a nomination.
Oh, interesting.
Well,
I
I
mean,
mean,
it is very
God of War
similar,
Ragnarok
but
did too.
God of
though.
War did. That's why
You
we're
know.
like, they need at least one Sony game in there. Let's be realistic.
Well,
Like,
that's all they got. So Spider-Man 2 is the only thing they can do.
If there's
Well,
a fucking
it'll either be
VR game
Spider-Man
from
2
PlayStation in
or-
there, I'm gonna riot.
Final Fantasy. Any
or
thoughts on
Final Fantasy
16?
15.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some Sony. There's gonna be a lot of Sony. Last Game Awards was pretty much a Sony show. Like there's going to be
Yeah, but that was
some
also
type
on
of
Xbox too. I mean, they didn't have anything.
that was their fault, but
Yeah.
like dang,
Um,
they're gonna have some representation somewhere in there.
Yeah. Tom from Toonami, member for 3 months, says, I don't know if Spider-Man hits this year for Game of the Year. Maybe or maybe not. The thing is, I think the Game of the Year awards is also a popularity contest a lot of times, right? And like that's going to be a huge game. That's going to be the talk of the town when it comes out, regardless of how much hype there is for it or how fast it fizzles out after. I think it's still going to be up there in that conversation, and it'll be a recent release before the Game Awards as well. Won't it be crazy? Did we have a release date for Spider-Man 2 yet?
No.
I think they just said fall. I think that's it. Though.
What if?
Yeah, something like fall of 23.
What if Spider-Man
Yeah.
2 and Starfield release both in September?
I mean,
I
it's
have
possible.
thoughts on how that plays out. First week or first 2 weeks, one hits 10 million active players, one hits 10 million in sales. Neither one of them get Game of the Year though.
Starfield will have 20 million active players
In 2 weeks.
in a month.
In a month, yeah. But in 2 weeks, I'm figuring they both hit the 10 mil mark. In a month, definitely 20 million for Starfield as far as active players. Spider-Man, I don't know if it hits 20 mil in a month. I think it takes like 2 or 3 months.
It's not going to be if it's not on PS4, which I think it's not. Like they have, I think they said it's PS5 exclusive. I don't think there's a way for them to hit that amount. Like the attachment rate,
every PlayStation person would have to buy it.
I mean, basically, what there's like.
I mean, that's going to be the one game coming out this year, so why not?
There will be a lot.
10 million
a lot of people
in
buy
its
it.
first month. So this just
It's a mandatory purchase.
Which
I think-
one did 3-bit?
I think unless I'm reading out older articles, it's Skyrim sold 10 million in its first month.
You're talking about a much smaller audience back then too. You know, like
Yeah.
Sure.
But and you got to include. We're not talking about sales here because we're including Game Pass. So you got 30 million Game Pass subscribers. So you're gonna have like 10 million people maybe play from Game Pass. I don't know. Plus you have all the Steam sales, right? Plus you have
That's where a lot of their sales are going to come from. Is just Steam.
yeah. Like that's gonna be that's gonna be the number one. That and Diablo are gonna be the top 2 bought games on Steam. Probably.
And you're probably going to see a lot more Game Pass subscribers around that month, for sure.
Yeah, and PlayStation, it's not on PC either with Spider-Man 2, right? They're gonna have to wait like a year and a half, probably, or a year to play it on PC.
I don't know.
I think right now Spider-Man's on the brink of becoming that like Zelda franchise for PlayStation, for PlayStation, where like they can do almost no wrong with it. But if this Spider-Man 2 is bad, then they're going to lose that. So if they can knock this out of the park, then Spider-Man will be that franchise for Sony. That's like Zelda, where they can just do no wrong with it.
I think Sony's trying to make Spider-Man the face of their brand for PlayStation.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, it fucking brings millions of people that are, because it's brand awareness. People know who Spider-Man is because of movies, and you go watch a
wanting to make
Sony movie
they don't own.
because it captures a casual audience, and the casual audience are the ones that are going to spend money on, oh, I can get a cool skin. They'll buy 1 or 2 games, and if it's that 1 or 2 games, if it's a Sony game like Spider-Man and Call of Duty, they're okay because they'll get their money from the Call of Duty royalties, and they'll get the people in with the Spider-Man, and that's.
Don't they think this is gonna hurt them in the future?
Yeah, I was gonna say what's gonna suck is when Disney comes in that with $1 billion checkbook, when Sony's hurt and be like, hey, you still own Spider-Man, we'll buy that back for $1 billion.
Yeah, like I feel like Sony's sometimes they be thinking like, ooh, that money, like with Call of Duty, and then like look what's happening. But I mean, I don't think a lot of people expected that, but same thing with if they put Spider-Man as their face of the franchise, and then Disney is like, well, exactly what Jasper just said, then I guess they go back to Kratos, or I don't know.
Well, they structured their business around Call of Duty. I mean, so why would this not be out of the realm of them doing something like that? I mean, like they could do that, and then they'll be
I'll just focus on the things they have, or
they don't want to, because it doesn't make them money. They already said they're only going to focus on the things that are going to be very popular, meaning that people are going to buy. That's why we're not going to see a second what's the zombie game?
Days Gone.
Days Gone. Thank you. We're not going to see that. I played the first one. I was like, holy crap, this is fun. I like it. Yeah, it wasn't like holy shit graphically intense, but that's another issue that they've touted so much that graphics means greatness, that if a game doesn't put that level of fidelity on in the game, it doesn't do well for some fucking weird reason. So fun games, like, they stop taking chances. That's why Sony is not who Sony was. We were never going to get Twisted Metal games like that. We're never going to see fucking original ideas like God of War. Now it's, they bitch Xboxes, Halo, Gears, Forza. Well, Sony is Ratchet, God
God of War, Last of Us,
and GTA or Gran Turismo. So that's their trifecta to Xbox's trifecta. It's just, that's what they do. Those games are what they put out the masses.
Oh, you meant Grand Theft Auto for a second? I was like,
yeah,
no, I mean
yeah,
Gran Turismo, Gran
yeah.
Turismo. Yeah, Ratchet and Clank, Gran Turismo, and God of War. It's their three main titles. That's who
I would not put Ratchet and Clank.
I would put
how many Ratchet and Clanks are there sold? Look how many they made.
I would put like Last of Us over Ratchet and Clank.
I would
right
They've
now,
made 2 Last of Us.
Yeah, but
now I'll put
I'm
Last
saying
of Us.
how many?
right now, I would say Spider-Man, God of War, and The Last of Us.
Yeah,
is their identity,
Yeah.
right?
That's a trifecta right now.
Yeah, that's for me. That's like the identity for Sony. Then you have their other games like Horizon. That's like the right below that. You have Ratchet and Clank, which is for the kiddos and
What
and
I
stuff
mean
like
is
that. And
they make a lot of games of.
yeah,
So because they always say that, oh, it's only a Gears, Halo, Gears, Forza, because that's what Microsoft only makes all the time. So when you have a lot of multiple games like that,
yeah.
that's why I put Ratchet
I
and Clank,
get it.
because
The issue,
there's 17, 18 games in that series.
the Ratchet
You say
games
they
have been
milk
hit or
their
miss
franchise?
a lot too, though. And like the last Ratchet game that came out got killed. Not the newest one, but the one before that, right? The one that was based on the movie. Like people didn't like it. It didn't do very well. But this last Ratchet game did pretty good for them, I think. But this GT, the issue with that is they only make one like once every like 7-8 years or so. So and then they come out with these like in between Gran Turismo games. It's like a demo for like the bigger Gran Turismo that nobody likes either.
Mhm.
I mean, you have people play them, but like they don't do very well. Gran Turismo as a whole is still a fun racing game franchise, but like Forza Motorsport is just like shit all over it to the point that I think Sony's even kind of like almost backed away from promoting it as like the end all be all sim racer now, and it's just like a game they put out like every 7 years.
Well,
They know
lost
they
their
can't compete with
FIA
Forza.
licensing too.
Yeah, they just can't compete with Forza, and for me, like their focus is on these Last of Us and Spider-Man and God of War. Well, what the interesting thing is to see what they do with God of War in the future, because like the Ragnarok, like I think was supposed to be kind of like the end of that saga, right? For these God of War
reboot
games.
them again. We're going Egyptian mythology this time, baby.
I mean,
It'll be rebooted again.
It'll be,
the way they ended it, it's
what's
pretty
the son's
clear where
name?
they're going.
Well, whatever.
Yeah.
Atreus.
Yeah.
Who? So is it Neil Druckmann that's making the space game for them?
Well, no, the other guy.
Who are you
I
talking about?
think
Corey
Not-
Barlog.
Not
Corey Barlog.
Orlog.
Corey
yeah.
Barlog. Yeah,
Okay.
Neil
It was
Druckmann
Naughty
does Last
Dog
of Us.
that was making it, right?
I don't remember if it was Neil Druckmann or Corey Barlog, one of the two, because those are the
I
two
think it's
main
Barlog.
names.
Neil Druckmann he was originally just a director, and then he did a couple. He did a lot of amazing games in Naughty Dog, so now he's like the head of Naughty Dog.
And Barlog was with Sony Santa
Barlog
Monica.
does-
God
Yeah,
of War,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, I
like
thought
God of
Naughty
War.
Dog was doing the space game, right?
No,
remember.
they're focused on factions right now.
Yeah, but I thought they said they had multiple projects, and like after Factions was going to be like their space game, because they're no longer working on Uncharted, so their next game was going to be Factions and then a space game.
I don't know if they ever said that they were doing a space game.
Tom says it's Corey.
Oh,
So
maybe it is.
one
then.
of them is making a space game. It's either Neil Druckmann or Corey Barlog. I can't remember. But whatever that is, whatever that is going to probably be a big deal, I think. And they could try and make this another tentpole franchise.
Yeah.
Right. And you got to keep in mind, Destiny is also owned by Sony now, right? And Bungie is there. And Bungie has a new game
For
in the
now.
works. For now. so they get out of that contract. Bungie is there, but whatever Bungie's next game is will launch like with that PlayStation marketing and all that stuff, even though it'll be multi-platform. That's going to be a face for them as well, kind of like Call of Duty is, I bet. Right now, it is going to they're going to try and push that instead of, because they're going to lose the Call of Duty marketing rights, right? And we don't know what Bungie's next game is, but we can assume whatever it's going to be is going to be pretty damn huge, right? It's Bungie. So,
Yep.
That'll probably be a face for them.
Do you think that I mean, I kind of want to hear from Jasper because you played the Destiny DLC, and some people I've heard very mixed things on it. Like people didn't like it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people that have continued to play Destiny didn't like it just because they kind of felt let down with it. But for me, I haven't played Destiny in like fucking 5 years, 6 years, something like that. Like I jumped back in, and it continued the part that I left off on, which was a major story segment. Whereas like in between, like the 5 years I didn't play, it was kind of building up to that very slowly. So like I saw like, when I stopped playing, I saw like like these black pyramid ships come in, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. And then it took fucking 5 years for them to finally get here. So it's like, I'm just continuing where I left off pretty much. Whereas like, I don't know.
So
like,
you missed out on like the stasis stuff in between.
Yeah, I missed out on all the bullshit
people had
build
this
up.
anticipation for like 10 years.
It was like, it was kind of like the Thanos event, but the Thanos of like Thanos was in the movie for 1 second. It was like in game, but Thanos was never in it. So it's like,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Dang. Well, I'm sure I will like it. I was just wondering because I know a lot of people had said they had mixed things. So I'm wondering. I know some leads of Bungie have left, but there are still like some decent amount of employees there who's been there for a long time. So I'm just curious of like their future output for their future games. When Mav was talking about like their next title, like
whatever this next game
for y'all
is been in the works for a long time, and Bungie's changed the gaming industry 2 times. They've had 2 main franchises. When they launch a third, it'll be a big deal, and PlayStation's going to be all over that shit, right? But I mean, they own them now, right? So that's one of the reasons I think they bought Bungie, is because of how impactful Destiny was for their PS4 launch in that era. The thought of them not only losing Call of Duty marketing rights, but the thought of them potentially losing Bungie's next whatever was too much for them, right? Because they make a lot of money on, not anywhere near as much on Destiny as they do Call of Duty, but they still make a lot of money off of that, and just that brand identity was big for them. And Bungie, I just won't ever bet against them with making the next big thing, because they've invented the whole live service first-person shooter genre, right? That whole live service thing on consoles, right? They invented matchmaking originally on console with Halo back in the day, with online arena shooters, right? Who knows what the next thing is, and what if it's
it's just like, it's hard saying that because like you could say the same thing about BioWare 10 years ago and look at where they're at now.
That's true, right? BioWare fell off the face of the earth. We'll see if they make a comeback, But it's true.
BioWare is pretty much dead.
But since
I got faith, let's go Dragon Age, good.
They're all gone. Like all the main people are gone.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, since Halo, Bungie did not strike gold with the first Destiny, but the second one, because they did the whole 10 years of a service game, that fucking blew up in their face, kind of like
Destiny 1 was still better.
But
I agree.
Yeah,
I mean, they kind of,
and then
Bungie,
Destiny 2 is
the
most popular.
Yeah, I mean, they improved upon what the first one. Like they
the first year Destiny 1 was rough, but once they figured out what they were doing with it, they got going. They got some Activision money in there, and then Activision started
Yeah.
pissing them off because they working them too hard, so then Bungie left.
I
and-
agree. Year 2 of Destiny really launched
you-
them into what what Destiny became.
Do you know how
Yeah, I
crazy
gave
if
up on Destiny after that first year. It was like,
Me too.
you know how
Like,
crazy
what
if
is this?
Activision still had Bungie?
Oh, and Microsoft acquired it with
Oh,
ABK.
yeah.
Yeah.
That would be.
Wow.
Not, I wonder if Bungie really did not like Microsoft that much that they would bounce. But it's a different head of Microsoft, so and Xbox, so they might actually made.
The thing is,
made it
Bungie
work.
they really want to protect their own IP and they want creative control. And it's the second that one of these major studios comes in and tells them what to do with it, they're like, "Fuck you, we're getting out of this contract one way or another."
yeah.
Yeah, except for this time around, Microsoft would have been like, "Hey, you know what? Do your thing. We know you do it well, so go do it."
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
they had something against Microsoft because of like with Halo. I feel like Bungie didn't really know what they had around that time, to be honest. Because once they left and they had Activision, they're like, "Oh shoot, like this is how
Yeah.
people."
They had a
are
lot of falling
It was
out.
like, oh, it's way worse.
Yeah, they had a lot of falling out within the executives and stuff of Bungie at the time. Like some left and some stayed because they didn't like working with Activision. But they eventually got their way out of that deal too. And now they're with Sony. We'll see how their relationship works. But still, the next game I think will probably be innovative again because that's just what they do. They
Didn't
don't
say rumors that they were going to reboot Marathon or something.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I don't
heard
know.
that too.
That's like the Marathon is like the precursor to Halo.
I thought the rumor was they were going to try to go away from some spacey stuff.
Well, that was before Sony bought them, and then since Sony has bought them, the rumor circulated about a reboot for Marathon. I don't know if they have 2 projects in the works, which I would not be surprised.
I think they might
considering.
have more than one. I think they said that actually, Fuzz, but I don't know. I mean, we still there's rumors out there. One the rumor was like one's a smaller thing,
Mhm.
like completely different. And then my guess is, Bungie's Bungie. They're gonna do some shooter like thing,
And Sony's main reason for buying Sony's main reason for buying Sony's main reason for buying Bungie, they said, was like to basically learn how to do first person shooters in a way for their other game,
and live service.
for
Right?
their live service game. So I feel like it is, which to me was like shows the difference in DNA between like Sony and Microsoft. Like Microsoft has so many different first person shooters, but they don't have as much like action adventure, and Sony pretty much has action adventure down pat, but they have no idea how to funnel like a first person franchise without canceling it, like Killzone and Resistance and stuff like that. So they could learn a lot from Bungie for sure for their games as a service, and I'm sure that's what they're kind of using them for, kind of like education, just being behind these teams. I mean, I don't think they needed to purchase them for like something $1 billion to kind of get an educational class. That's just my honest thing, because especially since I don't know what huge benefit they'll have besides getting that, but maybe they'll just maybe they have some of their tech now and some of that stuff to help them out with their games as a service. Maybe there's something more behind the scenes that we don't know about that they're definitely helping funnel to their other studios. 4 billion. Sorry, I thought it was like 1 billion.
AJH says Matter is their next game.
Huh?
AJH is saying a game called Matter is their next game.
Yeah.
Matter is there? Oh, Matter.
Is that what the rumor is that the IP is called?
Could be a code name too.
So here's I just Googled that and found an article. It says Bungie's Matter. Everything we know about Halo and Destiny Studios' new game, including release date, platforms, trailers, and more. This is from 2021. Okay. So take it with a grain of salt. But it says Bungie's next project described as comedic and lighthearted, according to job listings. Recently, a few job adverts have surfaced posted by Bungie creators of Halo and Destiny, with the studio's new IP looking to be lighter in tone than both of those franchises. With a game codenamed Matter, Here's everything we know about the project so far. A new job listing has suggested Bungie's next project is a free-to-play title, but is unknown at the time whether it could be Matter or something else entirely.
Oh, and they got concept art for it. Like I was saying, like last week or whatever, they usually do concept art a few years before the game comes
Yeah.
out. So
I remember the Destiny concept art though originally, and it looks nothing like Destiny.
well, they had this spider tank in the original concept art, which was a major part. Like
Yeah, but
kind
it didn't look like the same thing whatsoever to me.
Yeah,
anyway.
it looks pretty.
I mean,
good.
there was some of the concept art I could see where it came from, like in the game. So
Right.
it's like I don't know.
I mean, concept art is what it is. It's concept.
Right.
Things change a lot during production.
So, what does Matter? This says Bungie stated that they intended to release their next game franchise by 2025. So it could be a while before we hear more. In 2018, they filed for a trademark under the name Matter, which looks likely to be the game's new title, or more likely code name. Also in 2018, Chinese company NetEase invested $100 million into Bungie. They said that this would help them build new worlds and explore new directions. Unlike the Destiny and Halo franchises, the tone of Matter is said to be more lighthearted and whimsical. The first job advertisement to appear was for an incubation art director, and it read, "Are you on a mission to create games that bond players together into deeply invested communities? Would you like to work on something comedic with lighthearted and whimsical characters?"
The concept art reminds me of Beyond Good and Evil.
Yeah.
Oh, it's style.
When you think of Destiny or
Well,
Halo,
no, it's just like pirate ships flying around in like the air and shit.
yeah, this is when you think of Destiny or Halo, the last words that come to mind are comedic or whimsical. In September last year, Bungie CEO Pete Parsons talked about the company's future. "We need to build our publishing group, but part of our vision is also to become a multi-franchise entertainment company." So more than one game, I would assume. Maybe they're just doing that, branching out into new genres and becoming a multi-franchise studio as planned. So anyway, it's interesting. This one thing says when they're talking about the genre, it says the most recent job listing was for an incubation investment designer. "You are the glue between the sword and the reward. You will work in tandem with our sandbox and economy teams to build and distribute items to our players. Living inside a giant database of hundreds of baubles, weapons, and armor is nothing new to you. And neither is building a system to cleverly distribute those items in a necromancer's dungeon. By the sounds of it, the next game in production has a similar style to Diablo, an RPG dungeon crawler, although there's a chance Bungie doesn't plan on making a game so fantasy-based." I'm just going to chalk it up to who the fuck knows.
Yeah.
Right? Like, literally, I this is from 2021, and even if there was, like, some hints to this back then, everything could have changed. Right?
Yeah.
So,
Being acquired by Sony, they could be like, you're gonna focus on this, or helping them to build. So they weren't
I
they
think
helping
Sony will be completely hands
other
off.
studios? Well, I think they wanted them to help.
Sony's the budget for Bungie. Like Sony's just giving them money.
just the bank. Yeah.
Yeah.
Investment, and it's going to have good return for PlayStation. I mean, I think it's just like when Bungie, when they made the announcement, they're like, "We remain autonomous. We are going to make our own decisions and all this kind of stuff." They were very clear about it, and they also were clear that not only their games now, but their upcoming games will be multi-platform as well. So, but the marketing aspect, obviously, to Sony is a huge deal because that's why they're making a big stink about COD. Speaking of COD, we need to move on past this subject. Again, a little bit of ABK news. That complaint, the lawsuit from the gamers lawsuit, was actually officially now thrown out, and they have the ability to redo the lawsuit. But the judge even had come out with some interesting remarks regarding that, and I have it somewhere in our
Grow the fuck up.
DMs.
Oh.
Actually, it was on. I think I'm gonna really need to look this back up. This was from Foss Patents. I think that guy that is doing a great job putting all of the ABK stuff out there. Yeah, judge dismisses so-called gamers lawsuit. According to the judge, the complaint does not plausibly allege the merger creates a reasonable profitability or anti-competitive effects in any relevant market. Why would Microsoft make Call of Duty exclusive to its platforms, thus resulting in fewer games sold? What is it about the console market or PC games market and Microsoft's position in those markets that make it plausible Microsoft would take such steps? Um, Basically, the judge just called BS on the whole thing. Also, coming out now with the remedies being again official on confirmed with all the rumors before last week of the cloud stuff and no mention of Call of Duty
Yeah, most
and
of the
PlayStation.
remedies seem to be cloud-based.
Yeah, it's all cloud based. No mention of PlayStation to remedies, and the people that are reporting on these things are pretty much saying that the conversation has moved on past Sony and past PlayStation at this point, at least with the EC. But because the EC and the CMA are so kind of close and tied with how they're negotiating and everything, especially with the dates that they have been in kind of deadlock with for a while, it seems like for the most part this thing is moving along with Microsoft's plan, and that's why they're getting all these 10-year deals done with all these companies. When they said there's also going to be more to come. But the other thing that everybody tried to make news on with this is something that we all heard about last year when Microsoft actually said the reasons why they wanted to buy ABK. Now all of a sudden it's news for some reason. Again, slow news week, I guess, the last couple days. But Microsoft wants to open up a whole gaming app store to rival Apple and Google.
Wow, who has been saying that for fucking 5 years?
This is all of a sudden news because the Financial Times wrote an article about it, and I've seen about 3 other websites.
That's because the
piggyback off of it now.
FTC brought it up as like the FTC basically is trying to bring up talking points because they're suing Microsoft, so they're trying to.
Well, it came out
Right.
within Xbox's document or Microsoft's documents that they had put out there, and
I don't know why it's new though. They've been talking about
it's not. This is literally was in their like statements when they originally acquired ABK about how they want to challenge Apple and Google in the App Store market, and one of the reasons they thought it would be good to open up the ecosystem for mobile and challenge the duopoly that exists currently. This was all the talking points, everything that Microsoft said originally on the primary focus and reasoning for doing this deal was the mobile aspect part of it. Phil Spencer has said it multiple times, all this stuff. But for some reason, this past 2 days, it's huge fucking news. Like, I just I don't understand how people can miss this stuff for over a year now, and all of a sudden it's news because the documents are out there. I mean, they've publicly said this to us. These people ignored it. Why? Because Call of Duty.
Yeah.
It is
Call of Duty is like the main talk for a lot of these people, and then they're like there's a lot of interesting things that are happening with this deal. They're like Blizzard, yeah, other games, but Call of Duty. But this deal is very interesting because of the mobile space, because of how it allows Microsoft to innovate in the cloud space, of course, but also because of the hold that Google
I
and
mean,
Apple
you can
have on the
see
store.
that they've been taking steps towards this for like the past, I don't know how many years. With Windows 11, when it came out, they introduced Android apps on the Microsoft Store. You can clearly see they're taking steps to go more mobile with their storefronts.
Yep. Well, I think it's because the news, the gaming media and some of these other media outlets don't want to report on Jim Ryan standing outside the EC or the EU going, let me in. I mean, how much of a story would that be if they're talking about Jim Ryan knocking on the door because now he's left out of the conversation? So they got to come up with something. And it's better than them recycling the Series S as a potato again or something along those lines. So this is, something that they just stumbled upon that they ignored all this time prior. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
it doesn't surprise anybody. And if anything, the EU wants this whole mobile store thing because they're the ones that always have these antitrust lawsuits against what do you call them, against Apple and Google all the time. It's like, oh, your search engine, antitrust, your advertising or ads, antitrust. So this is another thing that's kind of frustrated the EU in the past, and maybe Microsoft will be that ally to help them out in this regard. So we'll see.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, if you really think about it, that's a great point, Fuzzy. If you really think about it, it is an interesting conversation, like what could happen in the future with Microsoft, like really, I guess like progressing their store now that they have Call of Duty and well, they don't have it yet, but they I mean, we're seeing more likely that the deal's going to pass day by day. So having Call of Duty, having all these other franchises into Game Pass, and then using Activision Blizzard as a way to almost jumpstart their store. I mean, it's interesting. It's hard to
also
get into
they're
the
not
store.
creating their own like platform like iPhone or an Android phone. What they're going to do is they're going to do the Amazon model where Amazon is an app on those phones. So you just go into the Microsoft app on those phones. So they're already on a billion fucking devices.
Yeah, that's the way they're basically competing, which is pretty smart. Like instead of making, because they've tried to make Windows phones before and stuff like that, and
Well, they
make their
bought
own
Nokia.
ecosystem.
Fuck.
And they pretty much got locked out because of Apple and Google. Like,
And they've talked
Google's
about
like,
this
okay,
publicly, 3-bit recently.
yeah,
They've said that was part of their proposals and stuff, is that they've tried to get into the phone space. They've tried to get into that space and all these things. And like they wanted a more open ecosystem in the future. This also goes back to, remember when Epic sued Apple,
Mhm.
right? Like all these things are like hand in hand, you know? Like Microsoft is the one that tried to help Epic get around Apple's ban of Fortnite on the App Store by allowing Epic to have Fortnite on the Azure servers on the web-based application on Apple-based devices for a while there. I don't even know if it's still the same today, because I think they've been working on things or whatever. But for a while there, at least, you could only play Fortnite on an iPhone or iPad through going through Microsoft, right? Go and signing up for an account to play it in the cloud. And these are all the points that have been made from Microsoft to these regulators about, there you shouldn't be trying to. It's not all about Sony. Sony's been making their stink, right? But you have a duopoly right now in mobile space, right? Which in gaming completely destroys the amount of money made over consoles, PC. Mobile's huge. And you have two companies that are making all the revenue in the storefronts from mobile purchases. And that's Apple and that's Google. And Microsoft saying like, and it started with Epic suing them because they wanted to do their own storefront with it for Fortnite. Microsoft backed Epic with that. Now Microsoft's buying ABK and they want to have their own storefront.
And let me tell you, Microsoft Storefront isn't going to be exclusive on those two devices. You're going to be able to take the game you bought on your fucking iPhone and play it on your computer when you get home. It's going to be open.
Yeah. And that's what they want. They also
awesome.
talked about with proposals to the government even and everything about this open ecosystem for apps and stuff in the future, where it's not just them, but everybody's forced to have the open ecosystem and allows storefronts.
Which, by the way, is one of the reasons why Google's against the deal. They don't want that.
Yeah, they don't. and the regulators laughed in their face with that. So it's coming more clear, like what's here, right? Now, where the regulators have had some concerns was in the cloud space because Microsoft has a clear dominance there, right? And even though it's a small space, they're worried about, will anybody else ever be able to compete in this space, right? And Microsoft is trying to appease those answers right now by doing all these licensing deals and allowing their whole portfolio to be for sale through other ecosystems.
I mean, if you just like look at each industry that Microsoft's like trying to configure right now, you can see the future that Microsoft's trying to take like, with Xbox Play on your TV, like through a Samsung TV. Like that's going to be part of the mobile front. You're going to be play your mobile games on your TV. Like it's just put all the steps that they're doing together, and you got their vision. It's like, how is that
exactly? News? It's not. It's just been what's been driving me crazy is like people are act so surprised over this right now. And like there's huge articles being written about it. And again, maybe it's because it's slow news right now. But where was all these people when we were talking about this like a year ago?
They were worried about Call of Duty. You can't take my Call of Duties.
Yeah.
There's like barely any negative press about PlayStation in this entire case. It's been really interesting seeing the sort of one-sidedness. Like I get that people have the perception of Microsoft being the big bad guy, but the way they are trying to push the industry to basically be more innovative rather than stay stagnant is, in my opinion, is progression. And it leads to better things, like the fact that like, oh, maybe you could challenge. It's not just Sony, right? It's the fact that like they are challenging people like a Google and Apple, which could potentially open up the storefront, which is good for us as consumers. That's why I've always sort of been for the deal. I get like people like, oh, I have no allegiance to billion and trillion dollar corporations, which is pretty much Reforge's entire take, by the way. I gotta go. Like last time I mentioned him, but like a lot of people are basically against the deal because they're like, oh, the industry shouldn't be consolidated. That's like the major thing.
There's no I want to touch on that real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
To the whole consolidation thing, for everybody afraid of consolidation in gaming, you have nothing to fear. Like there's already only a certain amount of players in the platform space, right? In the mobile space, there's only 2 players, right? And when we're talking about storefronts, okay? In the platform space, you only have 3 players, right? Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo. You can't get much smaller than that already, okay? So what are you really afraid of? And if you're talking about publishers and gaming studios as your concern over consolidation, have a rational thought, please. Because look out there at the landscape of the amount of publishers and development studios that are there. Just like Jasper said at the start of the show this week, the Lars from Battlefield's new studio. It's every like 1 or 2 weeks, we get an announcement of a brand new studio that's going to be working on a new AAA property. Any one of these fucking games could be the next biggest thing ever. All it takes is for any one studio to make one mega hit. It could be a solo developer. It could be a company like PUBG, when they started, right? Or it could be Minecraft, like the guy that made Minecraft. Or it could be any of these things, right?
Minecraft was made by one person. PUBG was like a small team. It's like
you could have a decent sized company like Epic, like a good sized company, also turn around and become astronomically huge because of something that they make. It is the gaming landscape is so dynamic with new players constantly every fucking year. You have publishers that are super popular now that 2 years ago we never heard of, right? Yeah, like companies like Nacon, fucking there's companies like Paradox, right? Which have been around for a while, but you know, Paradox, and they're all growing, getting bigger, right? Who else? Hoyoverse over there in China, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have all the regular names that we've all known. Embracer Group is huge now. We studios that are making multiple projects that are going to launch this year.
whichever team
Embark.
did that new Battle
That's
Royale
exactly
game.
who I was going to say. Jasper.
Embark's putting out 2 major games this year that they're putting out finals and Arc Raiders or Raiders, whatever the fuck it's called. And they're former ex-Battlefield devs. Those could be the next 2 big fucking games that you're watching on Twitch every night. So it's like,
and we're sitting here worried about one big publisher getting acquired is going to destroy the landscape of gaming and consolidation. This shit happens all the time. It happened in the past. Activision Blizzard exists because Activision and Blizzard merged in one company. Square Enix didn't used to be Square Enix. It used to be two different companies, Squaresoft and whatever Enix was. And I mean, but like, this is not new. One, it's bigger than it was because the gaming space is much bigger and there's so much more like investment into it, or has been the last couple of years. You have nothing to fear with consolidation in gaming. Like, it is, you, Jasper, 3-bit, you could make a fucking game studio, or you kind of have one, but you could decide, I'm going to dedicate my next 3 years of my life to developing a game, right?
Yeah.
The ease of access into being a creator, even
but
though
you can't go out and make your own fucking phone and make your own.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, the ease of access for somebody, even though it's a hard industry to crack, right? It's a hard industry to become huge in, or whatever. The ease of access into getting it to be able to actually create your own company to make a game is not like a lot of other big industries, right? Like, because if you have the talent, you can try, right? The cost for you, 3-bit, if you wanted to make a game in Unreal Engine as a solo developer, it's your time for the most part.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, tech is getting better, right? I've always sort of talked about this, like, where tech is advancing, and then of course you have to use the tools and stuff like that. But it's a lot easier for smaller teams to make AAA experiences. That's for sure. So that only means you're going to see more companies making things like the finals, like what's that company called?
The game developers Embark.
Yeah,
Embark. You're going to see more developers.
A lot of it's
DICE.
former Battlefield devs. I don't know if that's the shown by the shape either.
And that's also why, like, who knows if Call of Duty is going to be as big in 10 years? That's why like, it doesn't make sense for them to sign a deal. I see like a couple of people saying, like, why doesn't Microsoft just go to Sony and make it like forever? Who knows if Call of Duty will be the same as it is right now in 10 years if there's some other competitor that's better than Call of Duty. You have no idea what the gaming landscape is going to be in 10 years.
I would argue that's Fortnite right now.
Yeah. I mean, Fortnite, every time it's Fortnite is really, it's really cool, actually. Like what have they progressed as a game? It's like massive. But that's why I don't take a lot of those comments seriously, because the gaming landscape as a whole is constantly shifting, it's constantly changing, and people who are afraid of consolidation, like Activision is too big. Look at Microsoft buying this huge company.
In 10 years, Call of Duty could be like Halo is now, with 5,000 players on it every day.
Yep. There was one point where Halo was the largest game, and you had Sony, by the way, saying, we're making our Halo killer, right? With a lot of their games, they're like, this is the next Halo killer. We're gonna take down Halo, and they failed.
It's in the dirt.
But guess what? Call of Duty took it out, and now, like, we're kind of like, you know, in a stance where Call of Duty's at the top. But it's always just gonna be a graph of games succeeding, games going up, going down. Minecraft was made by one person. Freaking Fortnite was made by a small team, Epic, and then now it's like one of the. It's absolutely massive.
That's what fucking put Epic on the fucking map to create their own store platform.
Yep. One game made it so they now have a whole platform to put other games on. Like, you never know. You absolutely never know.
It's just changing all the time, and you don't have to worry about when one big company acquires another big company when there's like a 1,000 other companies out there, right? Other small companies become big.
Mm-hmm.
It happens all the time within this space. It happened to every publisher that exists today, and it's still happening.
Well, there's 2 studios that Xbox acquired within the past 5 years. Undead Labs, the original guy that created that studio, left
Yeah.
shortly after the acquisition and started his own studio. Now there was controversy behind why
there
he
was
left
some
because-
controversy behind that for sure.
But look at recently with Playground Games, one of the guys that was one of their up and coming like lead developers for like the Forza Horizon series is leaving to start his own studio.
He was the
well.
head for Forza Horizon 5, right?
Mm-hmm. And he's starting his own studio as well. And I know that there's like 2 other studios that I've paid attention to from Xbox that have had similar things. It's like the acquisition happened, and within a year's time, either the original creator or one of the leads, it's like, you know what? I want to do my own thing. It happens all the time. So
I mean, even like Twitch streamers are making their own fucking studios or partnering with studios.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. Dr. Disrespect made his own or bought a studio or some shit like that with Robert Bowling, former Call of Duty dev. They're making their own game. Shroud
and Big Fry. Big Fry is making a game that's inspired by Splinter Cell, but it's like kind of like a first-person tactical game. Like, you know,
Blue Drake is making his own free-to-play game.
I'm just the whole consolidation argument. I understand if there's like only 5 things out there and one company buys one of them, right? We would be having this conversation if like Xbox was buying PlayStation, Microsoft was buying PlayStation, right? Like this argument because of a publisher that pretty much mainly invest in a few properties is not going to have massive effects of causing issues for other developers to make companies and other publishers to grow. And that's what the fear is usually with consolidation, where there's only a few big players and everybody else is outcast. In fact, it's actually the opposite. Like Microsoft's actually invested more in the smaller developers, right? Like in smaller teams, giving them chances, funding their projects.
And I just want those people that say like it's consolidation, whatever, to put that same energy into your fucking phone companies and your goddamn like utility companies and shit like that. Put that same energy into that where it's actually a concern.
And you can have a dev just like do a solo project and release his game on Steam and start there or something or whatever, and it could just blow up. Somebody in the chat said Vampire Survivors.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was one guy. He was like, he didn't even think it would be successful. He like woke up the next day. He was like, "What the heck?"
I think originally that launched as like a web browser based game.
I mean,
right?
Among Us, like a year or 2 ago, or whatever, like during the pandemic, it was like no one fucking even heard about that game, and it was out for like 7 years. And then one Twitch streamer played it, and it was the biggest fucking thing for like a year.
Like 3 people made Among Us, I think.
Yeah.
It's just like so stupid, you know. Like it's just completely ignores the space that we're in, and that whole narrative doesn't fit, you know. So anyway,
I mean, it's a main talking point for people of why they don't support the deal, because they're like, "Oh, we're afraid of Microsoft owning everything." And my whole thing is like, the gaming space is still too large for that to be a concern.
Call me when they buy 3 or 4 more other big publishers. Okay, like
or when they get bought by Amazon. I bet you everybody that's against this deal will be all for Amazon taking over Sony, or maybe Apple. But I tend to think it's Amazon because they have the pockets to do it. I mean, Apple does too, but Apple's making money hand over fist without even having to make hardware for gaming or anything. So
yeah,
and I think that a lot of people forget that ABK came to Microsoft for this deal for the most part. And then also the fact that if this deal didn't happen, I don't know what the state of this company would be based on everything that was kind of going on within ABK. A lot of sexual harassment suits and things like that, and then people trying to break into a union, but now that's more of a guarantee if the deal goes through. So like that's why a lot of unions support the deal as well. So
what would be going on is you'd be seeing a headline where Activision Blizzard lays off 2,000 employees.
Yeah, fire sale.
Yeah.
They're selling all IPs and studios.
Oh, we're not going to support those unions that were formed.
Yeah,
that would have been what pretty much would happen if they didn't buy Microsoft and buy them, like 5,000 something employees laid off. Like,
yeah,
Bobby Kotick would still be the CEO.
Going into the future, yeah, for sure. Well, everybody, this has been some fun conversations. We have another segment to get to here before we get out of here for the show. And shout out to Tony Grasso because this is tidbits, yeah, baby, tidbits. Oh, tidbits, yeah. No, I'm not doing 11 minutes of that shit. All right, everybody, this is Tidbits, a segment on FSP Podcast every Monday night where we go ahead and look at the future games releasing for the week. And I am behind on this. I apologize. I need to get my Fuzzy has, as usual, the links up in our DMs, and I'm getting the link together so we can watch some game trailers for these games. This is a lighter week. There's not as many games this week as there has been the last few. But there's still some good stuff out there. So we're going to take a look at it and see if there's something that maybe catches your eye. Maybe something you didn't know about. Maybe something that you forgot about. Easy too with the amount of games that are releasing all the damn time right now. But let's check out this first game trailer. I got to bring this up real quick. And this is kind of a bigger one, I would say, for a lot of us here that are familiar with this franchise. I personally have not played this game.
Yeah, it's Remnant Shadow from the Ashes. It's being ported to the Switch for $40. It came out a couple years ago. It wasn't Game Pass. I'm pretty sure it still is. It was like my game of the year in like 2018 or 19, where the fuck it came out.
Sequel that was announced for this. I believe,
Yeah,
right?
the sequel just got announced at the Game Awards.
Yeah, so they're trying to.
Yeah, sequel probably won't be out for a year or so, but the Switch finally gets the previous game or the original.
I thought it came out this year, the sequel.
It might. I don't know. So yeah, Remnant from the Ashes. I know a lot of people like this game, so I have not played. I might have played it for like a few minutes. It's a soul. Is it a?
It's Souls-like, but you got
Souls-like?
guns, so it's
Yeah,
pretty easy. It's not like too bad.
That Souls-like gun game?
Stream it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh. Cool.
It didn't get an update this past year on Xbox or something that
maybe.
I can't remember if this was one that still ran in 30 frames or not.
I've never heard of this game.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of it's really slept on. Like again, it was my game of the year in like 2018 or 19, where the fuck it came out. I don't remember, but
a lot of people really like it. I'm kind of like, I don't know, I'll play it, but I don't know if it's gonna be something I'm like gonna.
It was on. Is it 60?
It's in Game Pass, or was. I'm pretty sure it still is.
So the Switch release is $40, and it releases on the 21st.
Yeah.
I'm not buying any more games that's 30 frames. After playing Gotham Knights, I know some people were able to play it, Jasper and some peeps, but
I played it on PC. I didn't have 30 frames, so
I can't do it no more, man. 60 frames going forward. If it's 30, I don't know.
This next game is called Chia. A game called Chia, coming out on PS4, PS5, and PC. $40. It's also
in
PS Plus Premium.
Yeah.
Not extra?
I don't think it winds up in extra. I think you have to have premium.
What? So they're launching like day one games. Is this day one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're launching day one games in premium instead of extra? The last day one games they had, like Stray, was an extra.
This one might be an extra, but it being on pre-order on Sony's site, it's like until it releases, they don't.
Is premium like that's the most expensive one, right?
It's the most expensive one, and the main difference. Well, extra was supposed to be the main comparable to Game Pass. Premium bundled in like the cloud, and it had the backwards compatible like PS1.
The thing is, no one ever knows the difference between fucking premium and extra, so I doubt the devs even know. They're just like, fucking put it in one up.
Right. I am curious about that, like, because like extra is supposed to be where you get the games, and then premium's where you get the back compat stuff.
Yeah.
But we have seen them do this once. They separated out like one of the Far Cries or something like that. I can't remember what
Yeah.
they did. They separated something out into premium before, and I thought it was really weird. So it's tough to say, like, for me in that service, what does each service, what is the expectation there still, right? And I think Sony's still trying to figure it out.
With them mainly doing the day and date for like the lower price games, in my opinion, it's almost better just to buy it on PC at that point.
Yeah. That's weird if that's the case.
I get like Dora the Explorer vibes from this game.
What was that seafood thing I saw at the end? What was that?
Sifu comes to Xbox next month, I believe.
It was
Yeah.
probably just showing that it's in that service.
This next game is Have a Nice Death. It's $25 and releases on Switch and PC on the 22nd. This has been already out on other platforms, I believe, hasn't it? Or is this? No, this is the new one. Is this a new game? Looks
I think
familiar.
this is a new
Yes.
game.
I remember seeing
But I'm-
trailers for this game, so that's where my memory's going to right now.
I think I'm picking this up on Steam for the Steam Deck.
Yeah, it's on Switch and PC, and it's Wednesday for $25. This one does look good.
Ooh, I love the art style.
Yeah.
Like Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
Yeah, so Calarie says PS Blog says the new games are extra and premium. That's what I,
I think
thought.
Okay.
3-Bit's gonna be the only one that gets that reference there.
Yeah, that's my show.
Okay, so it is
Um,
extra. That other game is
Nice.
released
Did I,
extra.
did I play that game
Gia.
before?
I was saying they better do it. Otherwise, it's like kind of like false advertising, you know. Although the reason I was thinking it could be some believability to that is because they did do that with one game before.
Yeah, some of the Ubisoft games were split up like that.
It's weird.
Oh, so going forward, they're adding all new games into extra and premium?
Well, extra has
Or-
been where they put all of their service, like for the most part, like the games that you subscribe to, like Game Pass. Extra has been that tier. Premium was like back compat stuff. You got your PS1 games, PS2 games, your PS3 games, PS Vita.
So they're
games,
just like kind of
and
rephrasing
I
it.
can't remember, and they were all in the cloud, as well, right? They had the whole cloud thing with PS3.
Yeah.
Not all of them were in the cloud, but the PS3 was all cloud, right?
Yeah.
And the premium wasn't worth subscribing to because there wasn't hardly anything there that was separated, except unless you wanted to play in the cloud, right?
Is this
but-
Genshin Impact?
No, this is Atelier Ryza 3, Atelier Ryza 3, Alchemist of the End, and The Secret Key. PS4, PS5, Switch. $60.
Change her run
$59.
cycle. Her run cycle is kind of. Oh no, it's not bad. I guess when she's in the town, they slow it down. That's probably what it is.
Mitchy Poo asks, does premium include the Sony 4-star preferred customer service treatment? I think that may have been one of their things that they were trying out in Japan. I can't remember. But they got some.
I thought that
backlash.
was where you had to spend like $1,000 on fucking video games or
Yeah,
whatever. wasn't
maybe.
it?
Yeah, I can't
Yeah,
remember.
you had
what
to
it was.
spend a lot of money and you had to get a lot of trophies.
I forgot about that.
Calarie says some of these games are highly sought
Oh.
after on the Switch. Atelier
Wow.
Rising games.
You want your good customer service? You have to pay us. Like, wow. I completely forgot about that.
Call us when you get some more trophies. It's like they're checking like in Twitter Spaces, they're checking gamers' papers. Oh, you only have 2 trophies? Yeah. Call back later. What?
Their logo could use some work, but it's not bad. I rated a 6.
Typical JRPG logo there.
Not bad.
Storyteller, $15 on Switch and PC. 23rd.
A lot of Switch stuff this week.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of Switch stuff. There's not a lot of Xbox stuff.
There's one.
Yeah.
Well, one of the games was already on Xbox. for a
Yeah.
Oh,
while,
yeah, that's
right?
true.
This.
This
Storyteller.
Storyteller. $15 on.
Oh, it's the
Switch
Adam
and
and
PC.
Eve and
Oh, cool. Ooh, Annapurna. I'm gonna play it. I love all the Annapurna games. Or I love most of them.
Yeah,
I'm so confused on what the fuck you're even trying to do.
You can create your own story.
it's like little
Oh.
you yeah,
a
you like
storyboard.
yeah, change the story based on moving the things. Put the lady in the bush and see what happens.
Oh, there's like a affair and an execute button.
I am your mother. That was the guy, that guy with the beard saying I am your mother. That's funny.
What is this on?
Switch and
Switch and
PC.
PC.
Oh, come
$15.
on. I don't want to get it on the Switch.
They're taking full advantage of the horsepower of the Switch with this game.
Yeah, that page is moving at 15 frames.
All right, next up, everybody's the big one. This is the big release this week. Already reviews came out a couple days back, and it's sitting at a 93 on Metacritic or an OpenCritic. Talking about Resident Evil 4 remake here. A lot of 10s were given out for this game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that games like this should be nominated for Game of the Year. Should be qualifiable for Game of the Year because to me it's like a whole new game built from the ground up. Just follows the same story path. But I see how some would say because it's like a remake, you know. But
I say give them the Game of the Year trophy and then put the date of when the original game was released on that trophy. Would take.
to me, it's just so different. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with what Calarie said. Maybe they should just consider, since it's happening so frequently, just having their own category for remade games like Dead Space, Resident
Metroid.
Evil. They really should. Yeah, Metroid. They should just have their own category at this point.
I mean, even
Remake.
But
the
see,
cutscenes aren't even exactly the same. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Mess up the character's like ear though. She's supposed to have dopey ears. They got rid of it.
Leon. To me, it still looks like a whole new game. I don't know. Do y'all think this is qualifiable as a whole new game? Chat.
nope.
Nope.
I don't know. I think so.
I mean, I
Whole
played
new
Resident
game
Evil
for
4. This doesn't
new
look like it.
players. But if you
It's
played the
like
original,
the gameplay is completely different from the
It
older
looks
one,
different.
isn't
The gameplay is different. And it tells us probably the same story, but told in a slightly different way. You know what I mean?
They
Like,
basically have to remake the game from the ground up, so I would qualify it. Like they just have better guidelines. That's the only thing. They have a guideline to follow of a game that has already came out, whereas a brand new game has.
yeah, that's the way I
guidelines.
look at it. You know,
It's just different. Yeah, that's kind of
The
how I
prob-
look at it. But
The problem is you make games remastered
it's not
or re-
remaster.
or remaked and they get Game of the Year, then you see a lot more studios doing that
mm,
and not bringing any innovation to gaming again because they're just trying to cash in, and it just
But
it's
it
a
should
snowball.
be rewarded though when it's done right.
Yeah, but not Game of the
Yeah.
Year because it's
yeah, I
game.
mean, God of War almost got
it's
it.
a,
And it felt
it
very
was
it's just the first.
Game of the Year is like new IPs that are for that year, whole like an experience to have, and then with a remake or a remaster, you already experienced that. Now they just put some pretty graphics on it. You can't really justify a Game of the Year.
It's not
Maybe,
just graphics though. It's like the whole
mechanics.
game is built up from scratch.
but it's an existing IP, so it can't get it. That's the issue.
A lot of
So
existing IP games. You mean because it's like it says 4 on it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like,
That's what an example of that could be. Like there was for example, the new Dune movie has got a lot of awards and stuff like that, but they already made Dune, right? They already had a formula to
Yeah.
follow, but the new Dune is it's like it took that formula and made it something different. I think that's why I see it differently. Like with Resident Evil, for example, they had the formula already there, but they could still be rewarded. Like it's kind of a new thing. Like change some cutscenes, they change the
Yeah, they can get awards. They can do all that. Just Game of the Year is just not one of those awards.
Yeah, I do feel like at least they should have a category for it. Like,
Oh yeah,
I think
this year's a little
if it could be
complicated.
nominated for Game of the Year, so can Forza. Who's with me?
Heck yeah,
That's-
Forza.
Forza Motorsport's called Forza Motorsport, and you're going to be racing games around tracks. Because can it not win Racing Game of the Year because it's like a remake or reboot or whatever? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, there's just because a game tells the same story, I feel like movies tell the same story a lot of times, and they can win an Oscar for Best Picture, even if it's a remake of an old movie. You know what I mean? That's like, they did really well this time. Same story, but new everything. And to me, like, this is new everything. Like, it's not just like the original game with like, hey, it's upscaled to 4K with like new controls implemented. I mean, this is built from the ground up.
but what reimagined movie got Best Picture?
There's probably several. I made an example of the Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga movie.
I know at least
that's
House
been
of
like three different
House of
times.
Cards was a show that got a lot of awards, and it was a remake of the old.
Challenge me to think of ones off the top of my head. I have to like think, but like it happens all the time. I mean, you could probably Casablanca was probably nominated for an Oscar. That's been done several times. I'm trying to think of some more.
It definitely does depends on the cadence of the game.
I mean,
right?
sorry, The
Like,
Great Gatsby, not Casablanca. Great Gatsby with Leonardo
oh, yeah,
DiCaprio.
that was
You could say Romeo and Juliet, another Leonardo DiCaprio movie that was probably nominated. I don't know for sure, but you know what I mean. Like, there's several different movies that are remade of original like properties. What's the fucking Bradley Cooper Lady Gaga movie? That same movie has come out 3 different times. And with the shallow song, yeah. So there's so many. I mean, it's not like
Stars Born.
Stars Born. Yeah.
Stars Born.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was originally a Barbra Streisand, Chris Christopherson movie back in the day.
Chapter 1 and 2. I mean, if we're talking about awards,
yeah, you could say
it was like
yeah.
Well, thankfully they're not gaming, so.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not for remakes getting Game of the Year. That's all. To me, Game of the Year is a new IP for to that captured audiences on a fresh IP. To me, that's like.
So can Spider-Man 2 win Game of the Year?
I don't think it will.
I mean, should it be nominated if it's that good?
I don't think it should.
You don't think that Spider-Man 2 should be included because it's a Spider-Man IP?
No, because it's a second one. None of the Halos got Game of the Year. So
Halo CE probably did.
Yeah, that was the first one.
Halos had to get
Halo 2 might have. I don't know. Maybe even Halo 3.
But they didn't. Yeah, those are the things that you walk a weird line that it's a remake of a popular title, so it's already had good standing. So it's like it's already been established, and you're just
but
a lot of sequels are gonna definitely be up there for Game of the Year. Like Zelda, I'm pretty sure is gonna be there. And Spider-Man 2, I'm sure is probably gonna be there. And Tony Grasso just said like Red Dead 2. That's another example of like a sequel being up there. But I think my whole thing is like there should be no rules to what can be Game of the Year. That's just me. if it's a good game, came out this year, and it changed it in some way, like I think and if it's good enough to be game of the year, then any game should be game. If it's a racing game, it's a fighting game. I think any game should be eligible for game of the year if it deserves it. Only if it deserves it. Like there's certain games that if they remake it, like for example, Last of Us Part 1, where good graphics, like they redid some of the AI and stuff, but I don't think that should be eligible for game of the year. But God of War 2, for example, I thought that did deserve to be game of the year. And that game was very similar to the first game, but they changed enough of it where I feel like it was eligible. Yeah, I feel like if the game is good enough to be eligible, then it should be there. Where no matter the genre, no matter.
Yeah, I agree.
Anything.
100%. It all depends on the quality you put out. To a lot of people, they may have never played Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
And this will be their first time ever playing Resident Evil, right? And it's going to be like their first foray and experience into it. And that's kind of what remakes are, more than just, you know, hey, bringing it up to for all of us. You know, it's also about reintroducing a classic to a new audience, right? And I think it's a disservice personally when it's a work that is like that excellent to like discredit it just because it's based on an existing thing, right? Because if we took that into all genres, you have so many remakes of different things that are deserving of praise, that win awards and stuff, and like
I think Forza should have definitely been their Horizon. I should have been,
and especially with the sequel thing. I mean, that's even like crazy. Like you just said, discredit sequel. Like Red Dead Redemption 2 is like one of the best games of all time. You know what I mean? Like Final Fantasy 7 was like, how many Final Fantasies were there before that, right? So it's like, if based on new IP, I don't think it needs to be based on new IP. I also think that a remake, if it's rebuilt like a brand new game, like for me, it should be able to be qualified. You know what I mean? Like, did you know Scarface was a remake of a 1930s movie? Right? The Departed was based on a Japanese movie. Or a Chinese movie, like the same thing. The same story.
Yeah, again, but you're kind of getting into the reboots section instead of remakes. So I think it all depends
but like
on.
Resident Evil 4 doesn't just look like it's the same thing though. Like it might, you could say rebooting it in that case is like rebooting a whole franchise, right?
No, like I would say, like use the Modern Warfare 2019 example. That's a reboot. That's a completely different thing, but it still has some like slights, like it has the same characters, but it's a completely different story. Whereas Resident Evil 4 is the same story, same game, just it looks a little different here and there. And
I don't think it is the same game though, because when you're
Like,
playing
my
it, you're not gonna
thing
be
is
like,
that
oh,
it
this is
shouldn't
the same
have.
thing.
That's,
You know what I
that's
mean?
also why I feel like there should be a category for it, but I also think there should just be no rules
Is there
in
new
any
writing
genres.
in this game? Is there going to be dialogue that wasn't in the original
For what?
Resident Evil
No.
4? Are you sure, Psycho?
Probably not. It's probably
Yeah, they called me just the other day and told me that they're using all the same dialogue. There's nothing new, so can't.
Are
They
you
changed
The
so,
certain
big thing
things from,
is
like-
when you compare it to the
Sorry,
original,
dude.
like that. If anything,
Got 'em on speed
if a
dial.
game stands out from the original enough, it should be able to be nominated for the fact that it's going against a high bar. Like, especially like if you look at sequels, like the big thing that's a running joke when it comes to movies as far as sequels is that usually nothing, strikes as hard as the original, release of a movie. The second and third ones in some cases are usually like shadows of what the first was. So with games, they're, the whole task is to improve on what they did from before. So if it stands out above and beyond what the first one was, like, Mass Effect 1 versus 2 kind of thing, then I think, yeah, it should definitely be nominated. But on remakes, or remasters. Well, remasters, I don't necessarily think they need to be there. Remakes, reboots, yeah, they should definitely be considered. Remasters, it's pretty much like colorizing a film at that point.
I know you brought up the Dune thing. I would say Dune is more of a reboot, though. Like, it's telling the same story, but it's new characters, it's new, like, everything, new visuals, new story, like slightly new stories, like new depiction of the entire thing. It's not like trying to be the old one and just redo that.
But it's like it was so old when it, like, the time period, and I would argue that
I mean, the game came out
when
originally
they
in
aged it up.
2015.
Huh?
It's like 18 years old now.
For what?
2005, Resident Evil 4.
He's talking about Resident Evil.
Oh yeah, and I
Resident
feel
Evil
like the technology has gotten so much better from the first Resident Evil 4 to now that it's almost basically like a new experience. So that's my argument, like, that any game that's kind of like doing it from that perspective, where it was like such a older title, and then like even Dead Space, I think the same thing, should be eligible for Game of the
Fucking
Year.
Dead Space is a worse example than Resident Evil, in my opinion.
There is some new some new dialogue in the game too.
There's some new cutscenes and small things they did with Dead Space, but like either way, like if I think there should be like almost no rules for Game of the Year. If it's worth it, if it's good enough and it came out that year, then hey, judge it. Let's see if it's worth it. This year is a little different because there's so many games coming out this year that are like, you have a super high bar for sure. And I do think that you should just have a separate category so that it's not too much of a conversation, like whether or not this should be Game of the Year, yada yada yada. So you can still have that separate category, but I still think it should be eligible. Like if it's a game like Final Fantasy VII that some people are bringing up in chat, like that was such an old title. They changed a lot of the features and stuff, and it's basically like a brand new game. That should be eligible. I feel like same thing with Resident Evil 4. Yes, is it like similar in cutscenes, level design? Yes, but still building it from the ground up, making it a new experience. And the older game happened so long ago that the new one is almost like a brand new experience at this point.
Yeah. The remake is substantially bigger.
Yeah.
Stitching together, I'm reading a review right now. So this person kind of goes into some of the differences. I worried the remake would dilute the delicate alchemy. When the original Resident Evil 4 release, games didn't feel anywhere near as padded as they do today. The remake is substantially bigger, stitching together a world that feels more connected and organic. Added fog and darker lighting give the game more of a straight-up horror feel. You might not even remember what's new and what isn't. It's that seamless. Outside of some very specific gameplay additions and changes, which I definitely won't spoil, this remake is pure fan service. The developers rely on knowledge of the original game's beats to surprise and delight. While the first half of the adventure mostly plays it straight, the back half takes risk with altered enemy designs, reworked boss encounters, or in one case, a boss that was removed entirely, and completely new scenarios. The designers also moved away from the original's reliance on QuickTime events. The Resident Evil series has always definitely balanced combat, survival, and puzzle solving. 4 scaled the puzzles back so that they were sometimes insultingly simple. The remake makes them more rewarding, requiring the environmental deduction the series is famous for. I'm just saying, it's not like it's just a blatant, like, copy and paste, make it look better game. Right? I get that aspect. If it's a copy and paste, just make it look better game, make it feel a bit better game, like a Tony Hawk remastered, right? Remake or whatever. But when you're going through and you're changing core things about the game, that completely bringing it to a current age and having to build it from the ground up. It's a new game for me, even
Like
though
some
the
different
story
boss
arc is the
battles
same.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's going to be different stuff you're doing in this game you never did in the original. Right? I mean, it's just environment.
Sorry, it still doesn't qualify.
That's fine. That's fine. I will strongly disagree because
The only one I would give you credit for is Final Fantasy VII Remake. That is a completely whole different fucking game.
Yes, that is an entire different game. That is nothing like the original Final Fantasy VII.
But I just
at
apply
all.
that to like everything.
Because they should have called that Final Fantasy VII Reboot, not Remake. But
yeah,
Remake is
they
the
kind of
key
changed the
tagline.
genre of combat and everything too.
Yeah. I mean, you
For
could
sure.
like, but you can't say Resident Evil 4 reboot. Wouldn't make any sense.
Redux.
it's not a reboot.
So you can't market it as that anyway. You know what I mean? Like, I think a remake thing is just a pure marketing thing. Like Splinter Cell is
Resident Evil
being
4
is being called
again.
is being called a remake, but it's gonna be a completely new experience, right?
What game you say?
Splinter Cell,
Oh, yeah,
it's
that's a
being-
reboot though.
but it's being called a remake. They're calling it a remake.
Yeah, they just don't know the difference between the two. It's a reboot.
I don't know. Like Dead Space is a remake. I think it should be able to qualify. You know, like
I think all games should be qualified,
if they're that good, you know, like why not?
except when in Fuzzy's case where it's basically is exactly the same game and you just sharpen the textures.
Yeah, that's different.
Then no,
Yeah,
like
like
absolutely. But that's not what I'm saying. Anyway,
So if they add an extra level when they do the sharpen texture thing, it will classify.
but it's different than so.
No.
They're not just sharpening textures here; they're building the textures here. Like
Oh,
they didn't take the game and put it on the screen of like, okay, we're gonna change this, we're gonna change that. They started from scratch to build this game.
like if you were compare this Resident Evil 4 to the past was made back in
Okay, so let's do this. Say
it's
we
different-
have
it's a
Halo
different
CE.
experience.
Let's say we have Halo CE that came out fucking 20 years ago, but someone just remakes it in Unreal. They have to rebuild all the textures to put it in Unreal, but it's the same fucking game.
But it's not the same game if they change things in the game, which this is changing things.
if you
in the
change
game.
it to the point where it's basically a new experience, then I'm like, yeah, you should be eligible.
Yeah.
That's my thing. Like I have consistency across the board. I think
I
most
just think
games
that
should
Resident
be-
Evil is closer to the same thing that it is back then than it's different.
I think you missed all Mav's complete thing of all the stuff they change in this game.
No, I was
but-
listening to it. I just don't think that
Okay.
they've changed enough to make it classified as a new experience because it's still going to be a majority of it still feels like the old game. It's a lot of it's the old game. It's just there's some extra stuff that they added.
But if you're bringing it to a whole new audience and it has like brand new technology, you wouldn't classify
It's not gonna
like when is the threshold for you if a game was made in like 1999 and you basically just remade it?
I don't care if you remade fucking Pac-Man. It's the same shit.
So
but-
wait, you're saying those games can't be any game that's been made in the past and you remake it can't be
If
eligible
if
for
it's a
gaming.
remake, no. If it's a reboot, yes.
If it's a reboot, yes. If it's a remake.
But you can't reboot Resident Evil 4.
You can reboot Resident Evil and make a whole new fucking game.
But that's kind of what they've done with the Resident Evil 2 and 3 and 4 now. They've rebooted the franchise and carried on the saga, telling the overarching same story, but in a completely different way with new
same
controls, new
story right
graphics.
there.
It's
is
just
where
pretty much the
it's-
same story.
You're following the same plot lines, but there's a lot different in those games.
That
Is there,
doesn't
though?
qualify it.
They're what? Oh, the gameplay is brand new. The engine is completely different.
Just because you don't have to wait 15 minutes for a fucking
no.
black door to just appear and then
all
go
of
through it.
all of the graphics are built from the ground up. There's new things to do in the game you didn't have before. There's different. The characters fight differently. They look differently. There's different changes with the boss fights. The puzzles
But
are different.
the same exact story.
It's not even the same exact story. It just tells the overall same plot. And even the cutscenes are going to be different.
I mean, if the story is good, then you
Like-
don't have to change. But my whole thing is about the story. Is just like it could be
So should
similar, like Final Fantasy VII remake. If you played the old Final Fantasy, you knew what the story is going to be. I don't think the story is relevant. I
okay,
think
here I got one. Should KOTOR remake get Game of the Year?
We
I
haven't seen.
think
We don't
yes.
even know what that game is
I
going to
have
look
consistency.
like yet.
I would say
I
yes,
don't know what's
because I
gonna
think that's
look
gonna be
like,
more of a
but
reboot.
like if it's
Yeah, no.
if it's worth it,
I say no.
if it plays really well, came out the year, they did enough things to make it a new experience because that game is old, right? So when you have an old game and you start changing different mechanics, maybe the camera feels a little bit better, maybe the movement, maybe the level back then was really old. So you had to like make the level a little bit bigger because now your engine is capable of more stuff. I think that constitutes for a game of the year. It doesn't matter. Like I don't have like strict guidelines for what a game of the year should be. That's why I think Forza Horizon should have been nominated for game of the year, but they put it in a weird thing where racing games can't be game of the year. I think all games that are worth it should be game of the year, whether it's a remake or racing game or a card game. I think all games should be
Except for
nominated.
Resident Evil 4. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, well, I don't think
Dead
we're
Space
getting
doesn't count. Mass Effect Legendary Edition doesn't count.
Those are
all those games.
remasters, kind of to me. Like, or not. No, Mass Effect Legendary Edition is not a full-on remake. They didn't build
Even-
those games from the ground up.
Even Mass Effect, the Mass Effect 1 part of that, still no.
But even Mass Effect 1 still wasn't built from
Mass
the
Effect
ground
is
up. They
basically
just changed
exactly-
things within it. They didn't make it. They didn't make a whole new game when they built Mass Effect 1.
Yeah, I also
like-
said Dead Space.
Dead Space,
Yeah.
They built a whole new game. Like
It's the same fucking game. It's just updated.
they didn't take the game code and change it. They had to
You're
build
right, they
a
just-
new game.
Just remade the whole fucking game, but it's the exact same shit. It just looks a little better.
It's different.
That's
But
and
same.
Dead Space remake is also different though. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff in that game that's completely different than the original.
Oh,
Like,
they
the
completely
monsters.
changed sections of Dead Space where like the puzzles and like if you're enhancing the original vision in some way, like with
Yeah, but 90%
some
of it,
changes-
99% of it is still the same shit as the old stuff. It's just a little different here and there.
but it like a lot of people didn't experience that like back then compared to now. If years pass and technology gets better, it's it's basically a new experience. When you add different levels, you add better lighting, maybe enhance horror elements here and there. With Mass Effect, it's different because it's basically just like a texture bump. That's not what I'm saying. I'm
Give you a
kind of
texture
saying
bump.
like you could use the same blueprint, you could use the same story. It could still be
Yeah.
nominated for Game of the Year.
I don't know. It's still not getting it though. Sorry, they're bit.
Yeah, I'm with you, Sega.
We're not getting anywhere, but that's just me. But
We'll have to
I
agree to
think-
disagree.
yeah, I think all games could be nominated for Game of the Year unless it's basically like a patch for 4K 60.
So I imagine it like this, right? A remaster. Okay, let's say you have like a structure built out of Legos, and you want to bring it up to date. You like change things around, you move things around, make it better, like optimize it, like things like that. That's like Mass Effect Legendary Edition, right? In Mass Effect 1, you like, oh, improve this, gonna make this, bring it to standards, but we already have the existing structure here, right? With Dead Space, with Resident Evil 4 Remake, you have no fucking Legos to work with. All they have is like the original, hey, remember 18 years ago, this is what that looked like. Now let's make our new version of that, but we're going to build it from the ground up.
Yeah,
Right.
Lego does that, and it's still the same fucking thing. It just looks better because they have different pieces.
When you build something from the ground up, it's different than when you're going and taking the existing assets and changing them. Right? And for me, if you're doing the work that Capcom does with these Resident Evil games, right? They stand on their own from the originals. They stand completely on their own. Like you could never have experienced those old.
So then why
games.
not just call it Resident Evil, like, and then some random side name like Resident Evil Leon's Story? Like, why not just call it that instead of Resident Evil 4?
Because it's a
Because
remake.
people are hyped about the name Resident Evil 4.
But because it's a remake,
has
they're trying
ages.
to stay true to the elements and the core of what it was, but they're having to build it from scratch, right? Like,
So then it still doesn't qualify then.
why? Like,
Because it's the same shit.
It's not the same shit. It's completely different. It's not.
But it's the same name in the title. They're using a lot of the same story, a lot of the same plot twists, and
But it doesn't matter.
But it's different.
I feel like
but that's
okay.
what, like, you can take that into all of entertainment, like in movies and stuff. Like, it's,
yeah. And I don't think a lot of the games that get Game of the Year, like Last of Us 2, should not have gotten it. I think Ghost of Tsushima should have gotten in 2019.
That would be
your thing with sequels is even like beyond like for me. You know, like
the sequel thing. It's like I went crazy with.
Yeah,
that's like saying like
taking it another stratosphere.
I'm crazy though.
That's like someone covering like someone else's song that was like sung like 35 years ago. Like if they just cover it and it's like the biggest fucking song this year, I don't think that should count. Just because someone else fucking did it and changed a fucking note here or there, it's like it's the same fucking song. But you realize
most games are blueprint of other games.
That,
so
that
if you're going to
cancels
use
out
that
all
argument,
music then now, pretty much.
like if you're using the argument that like the blueprint of like, oh, you can't use it because it's the same blueprint. Most games are blueprints of other games that has come out.
But they tell a different story.
But
they may use the same assets, same blueprint, but they tell a different story. They change everything with the sequel.
I feel like the story I feel like it just doesn't matter. If
you experience something 20 years ago and it comes out again this fucking year, it's like, okay, should like when they put Ghostbusters that came out fucking in the 80s, but they do a re-release of the fucking 1987 version where the fucking theaters now.
Because there's something new you can bring, even if it's the same story with technology, like for example, like movies like movies like Dune. When you re-release something,
Dune is
with
a
better
fucking great example.
Dune is a reboot.
Yeah, like if they did
same title, same basic overarching
it has
story,
the same plot element. Major thing you're bringing up is plot
different.
elements. It has the same. Plot
but Dune visually, it's completely different. The entire movie is shot completely
visually.
Different.
Resident Evil 4 is completely different.
There's some of the same shots in there.
Yeah,
there's some of the same shots, but
90% of it is the same shots.
But all of the shots are built completely from the ground up to be brand new to meet today's standards.
Wait. So you guys think Last of Us can't win any awards because they use some of the same shots from the game? Is that like
show?
Yeah, the show.
No, the show can come out because it's the first time that show's ever came out.
But it's using even the same like sort of camera angles from
but it's two different mediums.
But it's
we got you there,
story, right?
If I watch the game on YouTube, it's the same, right?
No, it's two different mediums. It would be the first time the show's ever come out, so the show could win show of the year or whatever.
But it's using the blueprint, so it's cheating.
It was just made, and it's a fucking different medium.
If
there was a Last of Us show in 2008 that came out, and then this came out, yes, I would agree with you. But this is the first time the shows ever came out.
When I was playing Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 remakes, I never once like, oh, this is just like the original.
Resident Evil 2 is actually very different from the
I remember going, wow, I remember this part from the original.
You remember like because it jogs your memory of it. But if you were to go back and play the original and then play what you played with that shit, you're like, okay, wow, that's different. Go play the original.
Wow, it's the same corner I just around and something jumped out at me. The lickers jumped out at me on the ceiling.
Because
there you go.
Because they're capturing the because you remember.
You're just like, oh, I'm gonna go down this hallway. There's gonna be a dog right around the right side of this corner. Oh, there's the fucking dog.
Because they're taking advantage of the marquee moments that people remember. But there's a lot of difference in there too. Like when you go,
instead of there being a red bookshelf, it's a blue bookshelf on this wall.
even like the mechanics and boss fights, everything.
But Dreadpool just said
different.
PS1, PS5 are two different mediums. To me,
they're the same medium. It's video games
because they are completely like generations apart in graphical fidelity, where you're able to enhance a story where it's basically different.
Okay, so then why don't we just fucking put every goddamn award show in the same fucking award show? Be like, music of the year, movie of the year, TV show of the year, game of the year, all in the same fucking award show at the end of the day. It's like,
I have no clue what the hell you're talking about right now.
You can have a game of the year win in other categories.
Yeah, I agree that you can still have like.
There's not going to be a remake of the year at the Game Awards.
Yeah,
There's
but
not.
maybe there should be with the amount of.
Well, then they're being prejudiced, and then we should.
Well, they're being
boycott them.
prejudiced by not including them in the fucking Game of the Year award nominations. That's what I'm saying.
That's
You're
because
being
it came out
prejudiced.
20 years
Psychonauts.
ago.
Psych-
It came out 20 years
No,
ago.
this Resident Evil 4 remake is 2023.
But
Well-
the first one came out in 20.
I don't give a shit about when the first one
2005.
came out on
Now,
GameCube way
here's the
back in the
thing.
day. Like I'm talking
Considering-
about this fucking game. This is different than that game that came out.
The
in
game's not
2005.
different.
It is different. It's a whole
It's
new
the
fucking
same, but
game. It just tells the
shinier.
overarching, basic, same story. It's a different fucking
shinier.
game. They had to build it from scratch.
totally-
I don't know how to
it's-
explain this.
Should
any
Halo
better.
2 Anniversary have
Oh,
got Game of the Year? Then? Should Halo 2
Oh my
Anniversary
God.
got Game of the Year then?
Should what?
Going first.
Should Halo 2 Anniversary got Game of the Year then?
That's a fucking remaster with fucking nail polish on it. That's not a remake.
They
That
remade
was
all.
exactly-
What are you talking about? Wait, oh no, what are you talking about? They remade all the textures. They
No,
changed
that's
the
just
fucking
one to one, the same exact story. They just had a fucking
It's-
like button that changed the graphics on it. That's different. They built
No,
this
the
shit from the
textures.
ground up.
No, they built that from the ground up. The textures are completely different. You can't do the same super bounces because the pixels don't line up in the same fucking version. It's a completely different fucking game. You can't do the same glitches.
It's not the case. Listen, they built this shit from the ground up. If they made Halo 2 and did an actual remake and brought it to today's standards and made the whole game and added stuff to it and changed things
They
and
did
all
add
that
stuff to it. We got lost levels from Halo 1 back in that shit.
Oh man.
He does have a point, man.
No, there's no point there whatsoever. It's a completely different thing. That is a completely fucking different thing. You can even the game, the Halo 2 is still there in its original form. You just hit the fucking button to see it. And
Yeah,
it
but the
flips back
stuff
and
doesn't
forth.
line up. So, like in some scenes, you can't shoot through this invisible wall because the textures are different. So it's different, bro.
I still
It's
think
different.
to answer that, Jasper, if you were to say like should Halo 2 Anniversary be Game of the Year, I would say still yes. Like because
At
just
least it's
because
consistent.
it did something that hasn't I'm just saying like I'm consistent. I think even that should have, because it was the first game I think that was where you're able to flick back and forth. It added like a lot to the original game. I still think, yeah, that could also be Game of the Year. Will it be nominated? No, they would definitely not in that context. But I'm still thinking like every game
It's eligible.
should be like Game of the Year for the most part.
Your just point is like if it came out this year, it should be able.
Yeah, it should be eligible, at least. If it's good enough to be Game of the Year, then why not put it as Game of the Year? No matter the genre, whatever. Yeah, that's what
I agree.
think.
And that includes fighting games and racing games and all that shit too.
Fighting game, racing games, remasters,
Mobile games.
reboots.
Sure.
One of those.
Mobile games should be qualifiable too.
Yeah.
If they're good enough. Anyway, we gotta move on. Kate's already getting pissed off at me because we're like 3.5 hours into the show now.
Sorry, y'all.
Everybody, thank you for tuning in to this episode of FSP. I would love in the comments later on to know, let me know, Resident Evil 4, yes or no, should it be eligible to be able to win Game of the Year? All right, Psychonauts, tell everybody where they can find your prejudice ass.
You can find me not nominating Resident Evil 4 for Game of the Year on social medias everywhere. Psychonauts 8. You can find me here Mondays with my beautiful takes on FSP at 10 o'clock, and then Friday 10 o'clock Xbox Ultimate, where we have some fun. And it's all good, hearty laughs here, folks. We don't take this. It's not like we're gonna, shut the cameras off and Mav's gonna yell at me. Nothing like that. So,
can you meet
Maybe
me after 5 minutes after the show? Right on, man. Thanks, Psycho. And we had this discussion a little bit with Pong, I think, the other day too.
Was it Xbox Ultimate?
I don't know, but it's like I get very rare. Like we always like very much disagree on something, but it's fun to have the debate when we do. And the fun thing is we can have this debate without hating each other, unlike some other people.
It's very rare that we disagree on things, so it's like kind of fun when we do like challenge your points.
I just like how Mav gets all crazy, so then I just start getting all crazy.
3-Bit, where can everybody find you, bro?
Everyone can follow me on Twitter at i3bit. Usually here on Mondays I make surprise visits on Fridays, and then I do my own shows on Wednesdays on my channel, i3bit, or youtube.com/the video games HD, I think it is. Where I usually just talk about video game creation, latest gaming topics, and then you usually will find me here or on that channel as well. I'm pretty busy this week, so I'm still gonna try to sneak in that show, but we'll see. But appreciate y'all, everybody in chat, Talos, everybody, Calarie, everybody who dropped by. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. See you next stream.
And what about you, Fuzz? Where can everybody find you?
Well, just enjoyed listening to you guys back and forth on this. No, but this was awesome. Thanks for everyone that watched us live and will catch us on replay, and always checking out our shows, and definitely check us out on Xbox Ultimate on Friday, same channel, the Fun Speculation Network, at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here. But if you want to hear my rambles or rants on anything gaming, mainly stuff relating to Forza or even GT7 for that matter, just follow me on Twitter at fuzzy_Belvedere. That's it.
Right on, man. Thank you, sir. And Jasper, where can everybody find you?
Check it out. Lord Jasper Twitter, Lord Master Jasper YouTube. I'll be putting out a video this week breaking down Alpha Centauri as it compares to Starfield. So check that out if you're interested in just kind of real world comparisons to the video game. And then AI Game News on Twitter. Check that out. Post the latest gaming news there. And yeah, that's about it. FSP and Xbox Ultimate 10 o'clock right here on the Fun Speculation every Monday and Friday. Yeah.
Right on, man. Appreciate you. And I don't even want to read these poll results right now, but we're just going to move on past the show. Everybody, you have a good one. Thanks for watching FSP, and we'll be back later this week, PM in the PM on 7 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, and Xbox Ultimate 10 p.m. Eastern on Friday. Have a good one. Peace out, and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
The poll was no, by the way.
Later.
No.